probably one of the most exciting national championships in recent Division II history.
We're led by the best coach in the nation and the best man in the nation.
Our talk has just been sign a 7-day contract, buy yourself another 7 days, get that win, you have another 7 days. That's what we did on Saturday.
Hello, welcome back to Division I Rejects. This is D1R 221. I'm your host, Kobe Manzo. Tonight, we're talking about some national championship football, and this has been, it feels like in both ways the season snapped and it's gone by so quickly. In other ways, it feels like we've been doing this forever. Either way, I'm pumped about this. We got some incredible national championship games coming up in both Division II and NAIA football. D3 is one step behind. We're talking semifinal ball here tonight on D1R 221. We've got, once again, incredible guests from every level of football. We'll kick things off at the D2 level. The quarterback from Ferris State, Chase Carter, the track star from Florida, making his way to Big Rapids and now being a part of what could be another national championship type team for this Bulldog squad out of Big Rapids and Tony Anise. And then we'll go in Division 3, Thomas Skokna. Again, the Ferris State of Division 3 right now is North Central, the Cardinals. Again, trying to earn their way back into the national championship after a big-time win last year in the Stag Bowl. Skokna, by far and away, one of the, if not the best receiver in all of Division III football. His 2025 season has been phenomenal. And then finally, at the NAIA level, the quarterback and signal caller for the hottest team, arguably, in all of NAIA football, Shea Spencer, joins the program from Keiser, the consensus number 2 team in the country, going to play number 1 Grandview in the national championship game, coming off of a bounce-back win, if I do say so myself, in the semifinals over the College of Idaho. So 3 incredible guests, an awesome episode that is loaded up for you tonight. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. Remember, timestamps, use that little red line bottom of the screen. Fast forward to any part of the episode that you'd like to listen to, and then maybe stick around, listen to the rest. We appreciate you being here, listening on any other platform as well. But like I said, national championship games on deck for D2 and NAIA. Division 3, we've got some recaps of those quarterfinals, semifinal games on the clock. We'll have a ton of other off-season content coming in the coming months, but for now, let's stick to the football being played, which is some really damn good football at that. Join the show tonight. It's the track star under center for the best team in the country in all of D2 football, man, him and the Bulldogs. They're looking for another national championship in 2025, joined tonight by the quarterback himself, Chase Carter. What's going on, bro?
What's up? I'm glad to be here.
Pumped to get you on here. Pumped to get you on here, man. And we talked with Coach Anise earlier in the year. We've had Payout on the show. Just another one of these guys that Anise goes down to Florida and brings up a hell of a playmaker. He can't keep getting away with this shit, man. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, that's his thing. I mean, he knows. He knows it's down there.
100%. 100% payout. I mean, he's a problem on that defense. Now you got guys on both sides of the ball kind of leading that thing respectively. A ton of other playmakers in between, of course. Not going to act. We got dudes all over the field here, but that Florida presence on this team is unreal, man. That's got to be a pretty cool deal for you and the guys.
Yeah, it's definitely a funny topic to talk about, especially after this game. Everybody's saying
Right?
it's the coldest game they've ever played in. I think if it was 20 degrees, I would have said that, but even the Michigan guys are saying that. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty common for us to have a Florida recruiting class of 12 or more. So, guys just year in and year out can get to know each other, kind of be around each other, learn from Michigan guys, learn from each other. And we just build a really good community up here for guys from all over. And the talent combines. And I mean, what you see is the product of that.
Amen, dude. Amen. And that product has been especially true inside of this quarterback room, which has been wild, if I do say so myself. You talk about going into this year. You got Gulker coming back from, obviously had the injury the year prior, but a phenomenal season the year before that in which he ran the football amongst the best of anyone in the entire country. And then, of course, you have Wyatt throughout the course of most of the regular season that is just dealing in the GLIAC. You step in kind of, not that we hadn't seen you, but get a much heavier dosage of you in the second part of that regular season, closing out some of that GLIAC play. And it feels like all of you guys bring your own twist to this offense. What has it been like being a part of that room? How has that really upped the competitive level of all you guys, helped you elevate your game, and how does it really feel like you all really bring a unique twist and style to this Ferris State attack that's become so widespread?
Oh yeah, first and foremost, I always say our group is really close group of guys, really good people. A lot of times people think a QB room can be hostile because
Mm-hmm.
obviously normally one can be on the field at the same time. We have Carson,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I was gonna
it's a
say
little
that
different.
might be we might be breaking the narrative here, breaking the norm.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's really just good people to be around even outside of practice or game. So that makes it easier just to learn from each other and to want to be around each other and play, for the next guy, Wyatt and Carson and LeSean who punts and
Mm-hmm.
everybody else just does this and that. So it's so much talent in that room. And then again, competing, learning from each other. Our playbook has so many wrinkles and stuff that everybody has something that they're really good at and something that they're not so good at, and they
Yeah.
can learn from. I've learned from Wyatt in some things, he's learned from me in some things, and we both learned from Carson, who's been here and gone to a national championship and won it. So just not enough good things I can say about them and what we've been able to do this season.
Definitely, and that's something that maybe could be easily forgotten with you and Wyatt both being in this redshirt freshman type of deal and role. In that you're very new to the scene still. You're not playing like it. Neither of you have been. You're playing with what seems to be a lot of expertise. But Carson, I'm assuming, has been a big part of that role. He's been around the block. He certainly is, the unk of that room. Like he's been through some things, especially obviously coming back off that big injury. But what's the one piece of your game that you feel really complements this play style and this offense that we've seen?
Just, I mean, like you said when you were introducing, I'm a track guy, so the ability to strike out, finding a gap, and kind of using that speed to create touchdowns out of something that would just be a first down normally, or at least big gains. And also I would say um, I've had some turnovers, some bad turnovers, so I'm not gonna brag or sound arrogant, but I try to pride myself on being a good decision maker
Mm-hmm.
and taking care of the football, making the right decisions. Um, so yeah, just using my speed and taking my coaching and being a good decision maker.
Only mistakes if you don't learn from them, dude. And again, a redshirt freshman, like this is really a part of the learning process for you. In that,
Of course,
if you came out here and didn't do anything wrong or didn't make those turnovers, that doesn't mean you're perfect. Most likely, what it means is you're not aggressive enough, or you're not taking enough risks, or you're not really trying to go out there and extend that play from a first down to a 40+ yard touchdown, right? And so you, seemingly watching you play, you have that mindset and that constant want to blow this thing up and take it the extra yardage. Track speed, football speed, two very different things, I think, a lot of time, right? How for you has that translated seamlessly? Because we've seen it with other guys who are dual sport type of athletes and are very accomplished in their own, track and field, other kind of expertise, that it hasn't translated to the gridiron maybe as well. For you, what's the difference, and how has it translated for you when it comes to running this offense on Saturdays?
well, it's still, I wouldn't say it just seamlessly, like you said, kind of translated. It took me a little bit, a few reps in game and running the offense to kind of really get it to translate. I didn't
Sure.
really have a big breakout run until the Davenport game, which was our last regular season game.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of seeing things, having confidence in the blockers that things are going to open up where we want them to, and then that's where I can use my talent to take advantage of it. I think where a lot of guys kind of miss that is, again, not having the familiarity with gaps and kind of where to go, and they can second guess themselves and just all that. Any thinking like that can slow you down on the track or on the field. So that with 21 other guys running around on the field can slow anybody down. So
Yeah.
just really, just like anything else, getting to play more, getting more reps gets you more familiar, and then once that happens, then your talent can take over, and that's what I could say I've been able to do so far, late in the season.
Yeah, clear the mind up, and the rest will follow. I will also say, you wouldn't say it because you're a more humble individual, but when you're moving faster than the other 21 individuals on the field, everything else starts to get a little bit easier, right? You just got to have the space to go do that thing. You've been able to do that at a couple different points, and having that breakthrough you talk about that breakthrough play against Davenport, and kind of seeing the pieces come together, having that to go back on in terms of visualization. A lot of people now talk about manifesting that, or really visualizing that success before it happens. And it might be difficult before you've actually accomplished it, right? And now you go out and do that thing. Now you've got something to reference and go through, and okay, this is what it feels like when I'm about to break this thing through and go off for a big play. And I go back to you and Wyatt being really freshmen in this system and having this success so early on. What is it about this offense? Of course, you'll talk about Carson being a big piece of that, and other guys and coaching staff that have helped you, but what is it about the scheme and this offense that makes it a quarterback's best friend in some ways, and that has allowed you guys to take the reins very early on in your careers with a really good, strong command of the guys around you?
Yeah, I mean, you can just see it by watching our offense. A lot of our stuff is reading and RPO stuff, so we kind of it's on us to really make the best out of what the defense gives us.
Mm-hmm.
And with practice and with experience, we're just able to do that better. So we're able to get the ball to our guys when they're open, and we have good passing schemes as well, and obviously the nasty boys up front.
Hell yeah.
Pretty much anything the coach calls, anything TA calls, it's there for us. It's all about execution, and the talent around us is so good that all we got to do is just really execute our job, make the right reads, and it falls back on our stats. Either way, throwing the ball, running the ball. Obviously, the quarterback is usually TA's biggest runner, and I don't think that's a whole lot different. Carson's getting up there, even though again he's a quarterback too.
Yep.
So, if you're a quarterback and you execute in this offense, it's gonna show.
100%. And Coach Anise had said that Saturday, those are the worst conditions he'd ever coached in. He said that outright. And for a Florida guy to say that might be one thing. For Coach Anise, who has been here and done that the last couple of years, man, for him to come out and say that is pretty wild. And you guys still put up 49 points with those conditions. And, 6 turnovers for the defense definitely helps in that way. They were all over the field on Saturday, and you can talk about them. But was it a challenge at all for this group to overcome those conditions? And, how quickly were you guys able to adjust and get things going in a pretty adverse environment?
It was definitely a challenge for me.
Okay, there you go.
It was
Good,
definitely
good.
a challenge for me. Wow, I can't remember any game from my entire career back home where it was below 50 flat, probably. So, yeah, that was very new for me. I've some of the Michigan guys again said that was the coldest game they played in, so I'm guessing it was a challenge for them. But I mean, really, coming out of the game, we looked really good. Wyatt looked amazing.
Yes, sir. Connect with
And
Tarek too to see that combo. That was awesome.
throwing to his brother. So I don't know if it affected them as much as the rest of us,
Yeah.
but and the Nasty Boys were able to establish a little bit of dominance up front early on. So I think just no matter any conditions, we just have guys we have dogs, that want to play, that can really do it in anything. So, my job just coming in there, protecting Wyatt, standing up for him. Unfortunately, just a little strain he's been dealing with, but just kind of manage that game, get warm, and take our guys to where we want to be, which is Texas.
And we're going, right? And I ain't going, but y'all are going. This is going to be a big one, and we get to talk about it now. You guys in Harding and the national championship. And first of all, thank God it's in the national championship. We're not dealing with this Super Region 3 bullshit where, again, the playoff system will always be critiqued, and it'll always be viewed as flawed by many. I'm just glad that upcoming this year, we got the national championship with what I truly believe are the 2 best teams in the country. You guys and Harding, of course, man. How do you approach this red hot Bisons team that has looked really, really solid in 2025, especially this past weekend over Kutztown?
Oh yeah, they're physical, they're fast. They're a great team. Obviously, they wouldn't be undefeated, scoring however many points they score.
Oh yeah,
not allowing other teams to score the few amount of points that they allow other teams to score. So they're a great team. Obviously, they pride themselves on winning, on performing their best, which I think kind of doesn't, everybody says it, but you can really see it
Mm-hmm.
when you watch them play, how they pride themselves on giving their best performance day in and day out. So, you just kind of got to appreciate being able to go up against a program like that and being a part of, what a lot of people say and what I think too will be probably one of the most exciting national championships in, recent Division II history for a lot of people. So
Book
I'm
it.
just excited to be a part of that. And honestly, just being able to go against a really good team is fun.
Yeah.
Um,
And in Texas, that helps for you, I'm assuming.
yeah, yeah. When it's
Yeah,
not going to
let's
be,
not gloss over that.
yeah,
Definitely,
when it feels like
I
it's
haven't
not
looked at the
going to be
forecast.
negative.
Admittedly, I'm going to go ahead and assume the conditions will be a little bit different from Saturday. And the last one I had for you, and the one thing that this offense, you guys have been out to some slow starts in the first halves of these last couple of games. It's maybe started a trend, and of course the defense has certainly helped in some ways. And you guys have carried the torch for yourself. You've gone on to have some incredible second half performances and put up a lot of points. This Harding team, they live on getting up early and grinding down the clock and trying to keep you and the rest of that Bulldog offense on the sideline. How do you ensure this team does not get off to a slow start in this championship game so you're not having to play from behind against a Bison's team that wants you right there?
Well, kind of like last year, our defense has to keep doing what they've been doing, which is play fast, play physical, and obviously Harding doesn't throw the ball as much, but if they have the opportunity, really create turnovers, and
Mm-hmm.
they've been doing a really good job at that, and I think they're going to play good. So that's obviously a big part of it. And then on offense, it's just making plays, executing our offense, executing the game plan again. You look back at last year, we were able to get up on Harding because we were able to execute, you know, drives. Trinidad played an excellent game,
Yeah.
looking back at the film. So just being able to convert on third down, stop them on third down, all those things obviously make a huge difference, especially early in the game when, it's a big thing for them to get ahead early.
Yeah, getting them off schedule, keeping them off schedule offensively, especially, and you guys trying to do the opposite, trying to stay in your deal. And having that film to reference is a big deal. I don't know if people, truly understand that. Well, of course, in your position, referencing that, but for a lot of guys in this team, having that experience and having played against this system and this Harding team that features a lot of the same big time names from a year ago. But like you said, man, both parties going to bring it. We're super excited for this championship game. This is going to be an incredible product, an incredible showing for D2 football. You guys are going to put on for the entire level and hopefully draw more eyeballs. And people are going to tune into this game and be like, yeah, damn, these boys, this is it. D2 football might be for real. You get people like that tune in, some casuals every year, very confident about the teams that we're putting in the dance this year and are going to put on for this level of football. So, Chase, really appreciate you, man. That's all I got for you tonight, brother.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of your night, dude, and good luck. We had two teams heavily favored in the D2 semifinals. Both of them won. I guess that's a short recap. All you need to know about D2 football. We got Harding and Ferris in the national championship, Drew, but really, I was going to say really entertaining games. It's kind of out of habit. I don't really think that was the case with both of these teams. Ferris, and we'll start with the Bulldogs. This game was interesting at multiple points. I got to tune in and watch a good bit of this one. And, this is a 21-17 ball game, Drew, and Newberry's driving. And here I am, like, Charpia's balling a little bit, like starting to sling the ball around the yard in some pretty crazy conditions. And in the back of my head, I'm like, no way, like the champ, like this is gonna be a ball game, and then interception from payout per usual, get this thing back on tracks. Ferris, they go and they win in a pretty big way, 49-17, dude. That's absurd.
Yeah, no, absolutely is. And when you look at the story of this game, we kind of hit it on the head last week. It was all about turnovers and Ferris starting. Is Ferris going to start fast? Or are they going to kind of play with their food and then eventually be like, yeah, we're Ferris State and just pull away? And that's kind of exactly what happened. Like we talked about, like Ferris at first, it's a close game. Newberry is not necessarily saying the quote unquote like team of destiny or anything like that, but like they were on a heater, right? Like they
Yeah.
were playing really good as of late, and they're going up against the big dogs from Big Rapids, and it eventually became one of those games where the better team won, and they won in a convincing manner.
Yeah, it was 21-0. Like this Ferris State team, you're like, okay, maybe they fixed this. Maybe this is, we've been talking about how they've had these slow starts. They're up 21-0, and then Newberry rattles off 17 unanswered, and you're like, whoa, that's not how that was supposed to go. Second quarter was nuts.
Playing with the food.
Yeah,
Playing with the food. Exactly what we're talking about. Like, it seems like, hey, we're up 21-0. It happened yesterday, right? Like the Bills came back from 21-0 as well, but the difference was when Ferris eventually realized, hey, they're in the play for this to go to the national championship too. Then they were just like, all right, let's relax, And I think that's good coaching. That's good culture to eventually just be like, let's just settle down, guys. Let's play our game, and we'll be just fine. And forcing 5 turnovers for Sharpia, that's a huge day for that Ferris defense.
Crazy.
Forget what you say. Say what you want about the yards as far as 348. Like, that's a big day. But 4 sacks, 5 interceptions, like, no matter what the yards are, a defensive coordinator is enjoying that type of day.
Yeah, payout. He's got 2 interceptions on Saturday, 2 interceptions the game before that. So that's 4 in the last 2 playoff games for you math majors out there. Ferris had 5 total on Saturday. Payout, I believe, has tied or broken the single season Ferris record. Go fact check me on that one. But he's definitely up there. He's been a ball hawk, that the Florida addition to that defensive secondary. And we have come to find out that Ferris, maybe not a first half ball club. We'll talk about maybe how that bodes against a quality Harding team later on. But what you still have to know is that this quarterback room for Ferris has some of the most parity in all of college football, with guys like Carter still making a big impact. We saw a much heavier dosage of Wyatt back there, maybe coming off of a little bit of an injury, a little strain. Sounds like he's back. Had the big touchdown pass to his brother Tarek. That was sweet. We've seen those guys connect for a couple of those over the course of the regular season. Not enough, in my opinion, and I'm sure to the Bauer fam over there, because either of them have kind of been banged up at different points throughout the course of the regular season, but still tons of parity and competition in that quarterback room. Golker still very much a part of the conversation as well. This is, you talk about the big number from Sharpia, 348 passing yards. A lot of those, coming from behind in the second half. He had a great second quarter. Of course, his offense started to come alive, 17 unanswered. Only 8 yards rushing on 18 attempts. And now, Drew, that stat is inflated. You mentioned it, 4 sacks. I believe 2 of those combined for like a loss of 20 yards. Like there were some big-time sacks in that. So that number I can totally appreciate is not maybe 100% accurate, but nonetheless, they did not do a whole lot of running the football on Ferris.
No, and I think that's part of, not necessarily saying Ferris is a weakness, but if you're going to control the clock, it's going to have to do with running the football and being efficient on third down, getting to third and manageables. Exactly, right? Like, it's going to be coming down to efficiency and being able to make the plays on third down. And they just weren't able to do that, right? 8 yards of net offensive rushing yards is just not it. Ferris was averaging 6.7 yards per carry, and they had 6 or 8 yards the entire day. Like, what does that tell you right there? Like, and Ferris ran the ball 55 times. Like, those are numbers. That's wild. Those are numbers that you just can't necessarily you just can't compete with that, right? Like, we see teams that go up against Ferris, and most of the time they're trailing, so they stop running the ball. But like, that's just not a recipe for success, in my opinion.
100%. Let's hear from TA, that being Tony Anise, after the big time win.
Hey man, last time we have to deal with this weather. Now we're going to 70-degree temperature. Yes, sir! Really proud. Hey, we're not going to talk long because I know you got family and stuff like that here. Really proud of you. Hey, and we will we'll be in touch in regards to the schedule. But hey, it's almost like a dream to do what you guys have done, okay? But we're back at this bitch. So.
Was that what do you say is cold as heck? You get to translate on that?
I don't necessarily know if it was as cold as tech, but I will say I did see a video of him earlier in the week saying he had 7 layers on.
Yeah, well, hey, you read my mind, bro. I got it queued up. Yeah. Coach Anise put out the video about practice, and we've talked with him, Drew, obviously, about the indoor facility and the plans for that proposed indoor being added on at Ferris. This video I'm about to play from
getting ready for another day of practice.
He starts to interrupt me there. Is not maybe a Twitter mogul, as you'd say. It's already got over 100,000 views, Drew. Here he is from practice earlier in the week.
Getting ready for another day of practice, dogs. Out here shoveling. Out here plowing. Go Dogs.
Gotta end it with the go Dogs.
That was like the least triumphant, like, go Dogs. Go Dogs.
I guess. No, Kobe, you ask any of my my Northwood teammates, and even I lucked out. God was on my side when I went up to Tech for that semester. We only had one snow practice. But I'm a baby when it comes to the cold, like bad. And I'm with Coach Anise. Like, that shit sucks. Like, I'm going to the Lions game this weekend, and if the Lions game was outside, I would not be going this weekend.
Jesus.
Like, I would just watch from my couch and get mad, in the third quarter for that instead. But no, in all seriousness, though, it almost plays to Ferris's strength in certain ways. Obviously, Coach Anise doesn't necessarily like it. But when you're able to run the ball in the snow and bad weather, that's when teams instantly are like, man, this sucks. Like, we can't stop the run. Like, they're just going to keep pounding us, like, down the field. And it's cold. And every time you hit the turf, it hurts. Like, that's a recipe for disaster for a team going up against Ferris.
Yeah, especially when you're going against the nasty boys, as they're referring to them. We had Carter on the show. What's that?
The Pistons call themselves the Nasty Boys. That's crazy.
I'm just saying that's what they're talking. That was actually my first reaction to it. That's where my head went. But that's what they're calling this front five, this offensive line group for this Ferris team, the Nasty Boys up front, of course, anchored by those Anderson brothers. Tim Anderson winning, I believe, the Gene Upshaw Award as well. So shout out to him and to that group. And Chase Carter talked about
Tim
that
Anderson
on the show. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Upshaw Award winner, dude. That's big time.
What's
best lineman in
the
the country?
Is he our age?
Yeah, he was our class. Out of Adams.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yep. So big ups to him in that group. And you said it. That's demoralizing to go against a group, whatever the hell your nickname is. If you've earned a nickname at this point of the year and you're still playing ball, terrifying. So anyone who has to go up against that group in that weather where you're not having success at the point of attacking the line of scrimmage is in for a rude awakening. And it is so crazy. We talk about, you bring in these Florida playmakers, and Chase and I had talked about it of, he's a Florida guy, kind of a track speed type dude from Florida, payout in the defensive backfield, Florida edition. There's a couple others that are big time playmakers on this team, and they show up and have great performances when the weather is terrible. And it's really impressive. Like, it's impressive that the culture and the play style of this team shines through, and even in those adverse environments and situations, and you get guys who are not used to playing in this to still go out and have quality performances against a really good football team. So again, the way that Ferris runs the option is very different than the way Harding runs the option, but we got two option football teams that are going to be going at it on Saturday, and Ferris's style is quite a bit more flashy and has a little bit more of that Florida flair, if you will, but this team they're fun to watch, and they're so complementary of each other. They have depth at every position across the field. They have everything that you look for in a title contender year in and year out.
It's a well-oiled machine.
It is.
Right?
At this point, it definitely is. Yeah.
I saw a tweet that said, Ferris is a D1 team playing D2. It's unfair. Like, obviously they're not, but it's, to some outside perspective, it genuinely feels like they're that well built of an organization.
And when you're getting takeaways at their clip too, their school single season record, their 30th interception on the year as a team, that breaks the school record. Payout broke the single season individual mark. He had his 8th and 9th picks of this year, breaking the existing school record at Ferris. And now this is Ferris State's 29th win in a row, dating back to last season, and the 29th straight home win at Top Taggart Field, dude. This is nuts. They've won 5 of their last 6 national semifinal games. I mean, you go down the list. This is a team that is made for this moment, and now we get one more chance to see them against their best competition they've played all season.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about those guys then. Let's go over to this Harding game that, I'm not going to go sit here and say that it was a scary one for Harding. they roll 49-27 win over a Kutztown team that I know we were pretty excited about. Especially, it's hard to talk to a guy like Judd Novak and then not be all pumped up for this team because of what they've done and because of the type of character and dude that he is, and Burkhardt, these other guys on this Kutztown team that have been dudes all season long. At the end of the day, they're still playing the Harding Bisons. They're still playing Golkilon, and it wasn't enough. For me, Judd Novak, I thought had a relatively impressive showing. I was impressed with what I saw, and I didn't get to watch the entire game, but I did see a good chunk of it. And when I am watching, he deals a really nice ball on that first red zone trip. And in the second quarter, first red zone trip in the second quarter, it's completed. Seemingly, that ball gets knocked out by a Harding defensive back in the end zone for a huge play. Bisons retain a 14-0 lead. I mean, that's obviously a 7-point swing right there. That was huge because you and I know that getting down to Harding by multiple scores could be a death sentence for about 98% of teams in America. So that play right there felt like a really crucial one that Kutztown did not get to go their way. They did get another chance. Novak, he thread one down the field to Pacheski on the outside shoulder. They get on the board before halftime. But they were unafraid to take the long shots, this Kutztown team. I love that. Go out there. At this point, no one's expecting you to go out here and make a lot of noise. Let's go ahead and run the risk a little bit. Now, of course, the downside of taking a lot of these long balls that they did and they were maybe unsuccessful in the majority of which is that you're accelerating the process of getting your offense back to field and watching the flex bone come back out and run up the field. So that's the tough part. They did eventually connect for that big touchdown to Pacheski, but yeah, man, Bison's 21-0 lead. Never look back in the national championship.
Yeah, I thought Kutztown would win this game, only not because of anything against Harding, really just because I thought Judd Novak would perform, and he honestly did. You look at his net total, he had 137 yards rushing, 245 through the air, 4 total touchdowns. That's a great day, right? And he was above 50% passing, but the end of the day, it isn't come down to one player. And this Harding team they're a team. They're built like a team. 389 yards rushing, net total, 7 touchdowns on the ground.
That's that's absurd.
That's demoralizing.
Yeah.
Like as a defense, just like we talked about it with Ferris, but especially late in this year, like the body hurts. The mind is what's keeping the body going, right? And then all of a sudden, when you're getting demoralized with run after run after run after run, they averaged 8 yards a carry on 47 yards a carry, or 47
Miller had
attempts.
a day, Jay had a day, Keon had a day. Like, these guys are all big-time contributors, and a little bit of a different kind of Woj bomb for you here, Drew. This is a tweet from Michael W., I'm just going to call him instead of trying to pronounce that. But he says here, the fact that the Kutztown QB threw his first interception of the season in the national semifinals is craziness. How does he respond? Rips off a 75-yard touchdown run in the first play of the next possession. Of course, he is referring to Judd Novak right there. And that's the way this team and this guy has responded along every course of the way. And that run right there, that was on the kind of about the halfway point through the third quarter. 74-yard touchdown run in the book. That was a scoring drive, Drew, that was 13 seconds on the time possession, which again is really good and really bad because you want to keep that Harding offense off the field. That made it 28-13, and it could have been a kind of a turning point in this game. But you want to talk about responding. Braden Jay, he gets a 70-yard run not 30 seconds later to put these guys up 35-13, and that was it for this Harding squad. So they just answer, man. Every time you step up to the plate, they answer with something better.
Yeah, they're a tough team, tough out. I really feel like it comes down to discipline on the defensive side of the ball to hang with them, right? Like they're very much like they're going to do what they do, and they're saying, hey, if you can't stop us, it's going to be a long day.
Well, yeah, and these teams don't have a ton of prep for what they're looking at, right? Like a Kutztown team, they're not preparing for this over the course of the regular season. There's not a multitude of teams at Division II level that are running the flex bone. There certainly isn't anyone at the D2 level running it as efficiently as Harding is. So to game plan for this on a shorter week type of deal is is really difficult. And to do it again, to your point, playing really defensive, sound football is what is emphasized playing against any kind of option team. Now, if you're a Harding fan, really got to hope that Curtis Jackson is back in that defensive backfield. I saw him going to the tent at the end of the first half. I did not check in and see if he was back out there, but hopefully he is good to go. He's a big piece of that defensive backfield. But the quarterback for this Harding team, and a guy that we've had on this program, phenomenal human, even better ball player, Cole Keelan, he went and made history on Saturday. Certainly have to acknowledge that, even if my graphic here on D1R was a little bit off. But right here, this was being reported right after the game, Drew, was the most wins by any quarterback at any level in NCAA history. Cole Keelan with his 51st win of his career. Come to find out, that is actually the Division II record, not the all NCAA record that is still held by Luke Lanen. So some bad info I was reporting on there, but still, big ups to the man Cole Keelan. 51 wins in his career, and potentially one of the best quotes of all time from his head coach, Paul Simmons. And as I say that, I click out of it. But the quote here from Paul Simmons is absolutely phenomenal. He has more toughness in his pinky finger than most men have in their whole body.
Wow.
That is awesome, dude. And here is, I'll play the actual video here so we can hear him say it as well if you don't believe me.
Got more toughness and warrior spirit in his pinky finger than most. I've said it all week. The young man's got more toughness and warrior spirit in his pinky finger than most men have in their whole body. You know, that first drive, the quarterback sneak, I mean, he came out and my trainer, my orthopedic surgeon said, Coach, I don't think he can go. I don't think he can play anymore. You know, get Malik ready. And then, you know, they kind of had a long drive and immediate timeout, and I look out on the field, and there's Cole. He's one of one when it comes to toughness. I mean, the young man just tied the all-time record for wins as a starting quarterback. He's 51-4 in his career. He really is the ultimate teammate. I mean, it matters so much.
51-4, dude. And I love that line from him, like orthopedic surgeon, like everybody on the sideline saying, yeah, he's done. He won't be able to finish. I look out on the field. There's Cole. That son of a bitch. Couldn't keep him off the freaking gridiron, dude. I love that. And, you know, I got a good clip of him, too. Definitely was, you know, and I heard our friend Chuck Bittner at D2Football.com talk about it. He was there in person. Sounded like he had a great experience. But he was favoring his leg, I think pretty noticeably, Drew, especially on the broadcast when I was watching. And they go down to make this thing 21-0. I'll show a clip here. In just a second of the touchdown run that he puts in. And you'll notice that right after the touchdown, Drew, just watch him coming off the field here. Shakes a guy loose, and then coming off, you notice very evidently, that guy, the clip kind of cuts early. That guy's not the look of a quarterback or a player who's at 100%, right?
No, it definitely seems like, you know, he's battling a little bit. I don't know if he necessarily wears a knee sleeve every single game. So could be inflammation, something along those lines, right? Like Kobe, obviously you're very familiar with knee injuries. Like
Correct.
And that wasn't even but that wasn't
I know.
But like, you know, like little inflammation, like you start feeling heavy, right? Like it's a little different. And cutting is not the same.
Correct. No, you're 100% right. And I bring that up too. One, to highlight how tough this dude is, because that is, you know, the performance he put on Saturday, when you put it into perspective like that, was almost Herculean. But also because it's a talking point for the national championship. This is a guy that, you know, are we going to have Cole Keelan at 100%? And you and I both know that after all of that, you know, you get all that blood flow, you sit for a couple days, that thing could get inflamed even more. That could look very different in both ways from now to that national championship, especially, Drew, when you consider in he's probably going to be on a bus or some type of vehicle getting to airport. You're going to be sitting around for a long time on a flight, doing a lot of travel and things where you're not going to be moving that joint around and getting those, you know, kind of fluids and other things moving around in your leg. That, again, it could be a lot better by Saturday. It could be a lot worse by Saturday. And nobody outside of that locker room, that coaching staff, and that training room will really know. But it is certainly a talking point for this weekend. Are we getting Cole Keelan at 100%? Because if he's not, he's still going to be a threat. But is that going to be enough to get over the hump that is Ferris State? That is truly the question, and truly why I bring it up, because I think it is a real talking point.
Yeah, I mean, any type of quarterback, you're going to instantly be like, hey, he's not 100%. In the national championship, you're going to have reason for concern. But when they run the offense that they run, and he's like we just talked about, he's a proven winner in this scheme.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be very difficult to, if he's not 100%, to beat the reigning national champion.
Yeah. Shout out Jordan Gillis for the phenomenal flicks and video here of this Harding win. There's some really good shots of a big-time W for this Bison's team. And now, of course, Drew, we move on. We got the national championship going on down in Texas. Harding, Ferris State, consensus, the two best teams in all of Division II college football. They're facing off in McKinney ISD. And two teams that are familiar with this stage, I think I'll lead it off and just say that I'm happy that this is happening now in the national championship and not in the super region final as it has happened in years past. And again, it's the super region shakeup. I'll be the first to say is not perfect, but at least it's getting us the best result right now, which are the two best teams in the country.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to say Kutztown was one of the two best teams in the country, they were going to have to play Harding, and Harding beat them pretty easily. And a lot of people would also say that, well, Ferris is one of the two best teams in the country, and Harding's one of the two best teams in the country. These are the two best teams in the country.
Boom.
No matter what you want to say, any type of metric, they made it here for a reason. They're the two best teams in the country, and they're going to figure out who's the best team in the country on this weekend.
And a great stat from the GAC commish here on X. It's only happened twice. Full season number 1 versus number 2 in the polls for the Division II national title. In 2006, it was Northwest Missouri State and Grand Valley State. In 2025, it's Ferris State and Harding in the second iteration of this ridiculous matchup of teams that have been dominant over the entire course of the regular and postseason, respectfully. And Drew, what's one thing you notice about these four teams right here is that under the previous alignment in Super Regions, all four of these teams were coming out of Super Region 3, with 2 out of the GLIAC, 1 out of the MIAA, and 1 out of the GAC. So the regionalization is always going to be a thorn in the side of really good Division II football. Until that is abolished, and that is a much larger conversation, we will not truly get these matchups year in and year out. I'm just glad that it feels like this year, this is certainly the way to go and certainly the best two teams. Who knows what the future of D2 football in the playoff picture looks like and how that evolves, but really quality stat right there that just cements the fact home that we have a quality football game this weekend, dude.
Quality teams, quality coaches, and
True.
two teams that you can genuinely say, like, they're in the midst of special runs, not just this year, but previous years as well. Ferris obviously has won, what would we say, 29 in a row?
Yep.
And Harding was the 2023 national champion, correct?
Boom.
Like, what more could you ask for? The two best teams, 1 and 2 all year, last 2 national champions. Like, this is like, it almost feels like it was scripted. You know what I mean? Like, it's a great plot.
It is. It is a very good one at that. So to me, it's, of course, for Ferris State, you have so many less opportunities to generate turnovers, and the fact that Harding does not throw the ball like Newberry does or some of your other previous opponents. So how do you get crafty and generate a couple of those turnovers? Because that will be paramount on Saturday to a successful Ferris State team. That's one key, of course, because you don't see guys like Miller and Jay and the other guys that are key parts of this offense, Keelan, they're not coughing up the ball at a very consistent clip. So what do you do to generate some turnovers in that department? Obviously, the point of attack, the line of scrimmage, I can sit here and talk about how that's the most important deal because it is. But for Harding, it's how do you get to that early lead? Do we see a little bit more creativity to start this thing off and try and catch Ferris off balance? Or is it just stick to your guns and let's beat these guys outright? Which I think is probably the feeling and the consensus in that locker room down there in Searcy, Arkansas. But to me, doing anything in your power to get ahead early on this Ferris State team and to make them be in an uncomfortable position that they've shown they can come back from, but can they do it against Harding? That's a big deal. So those are our really general kind of broad observations. You can get into more nitpicky type deals. And I think Ferris is also more well equipped, than any opponent this postseason to stop the explosive play, and explosive play being Braden Jay for this Harding attack and how they incorporate him into that offense and swing him outside and get him on these 50, 60, 70-yard touchdown runs. I think Ferris's defensive backfield is more equipped sideline to sideline, especially their linebacker core, than anyone that Harding has seen up to this point. So I will go on record and say I'd be very surprised if Harding has multiple plays over 45 yards, you know what I mean? Over 40 yards in the national championship game. I could be biting my words here in a week, and that's not like a crazy take, but I'd be very surprised. I think this Ferris State team is built to stop the explosive play when it comes to Harding, and we'll see if Harding gets creative to counteract that on Saturday.
In the same way that we've talked all postseason about Ferris, outside of really the Northwood game, starting fast, starting fast, starting fast. This week, in particular, starting fast, because I'm going to be honest with you, Harding doesn't necessarily have the scheme to come back, right? Like,
Yeah.
when was the last time Harding was down 10 points?
You know, go
right?
back to
Like,
that Washita Baptist loss, just a semi recently. I believe it was just last year. And that was one, it was last year or 20, no, it would have been last year in 24. And they had to try and stage a 2-minute drill at the end of the game. And they had a mild amount of success, but it was ugly. It was definitely not Harding football. And they have, to your point, not really been put in that situation. So who knows what that looks like? To me, it's stick to their guns and figure it out from there. I'd be very curious to be a fly on the wall in that quarterback room from Ferris State this week. How do we incorporate? We got 3 guys here in Carter, in Bauer, in Gulker that all have very different skill sets and very different attributes that they bring to this Ferris State offense. How do we make sure each of those guys are showcased in a respectable way and that we get them involved in this offense? Because we're going to need, by we, I'm speaking from the perspective of Ferris, I'm not on the team. We're going to need all of them to be productive in their own way and bring their own flair to this offense. If you're TA and that staff, how do you get all those guys involved in different ways? And Gulker's kind of the easiest because you put him out at that H-back or tight end. He can catch it. He can run it. He'll block. He'll do whatever. But, with Wyatt and with Chase, it's an interesting deal, and I'm very excited to see creatively not only how they do it, but when they do it. When are they making that change? Are you riding the hot hand at quarterback, or is this a situation-based decision at who's going to be under center for this Bulldogs team?
Yeah, I think the hot hand is going to be very, in particular in this game because, Carter's been doing nothing but just dominant football over this past stretch,
Track
right?
star.
He's flying down the field, but at the same time, are you running maybe different schemes with Bauer, right? It's that weird mix of that, they always used to say, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback, right?
Yeah, well, they never talked about 3 though.
But then Ferris all of a sudden rolls out with the dragon from Godzilla with 3 heads, and they're like, hey, what about us? But no, in all seriousness though, I think that
is Harding Godzilla in that equation, by the way? Are we going to?
It's more like Godzilla versus Kong, I guess, right?
Okay. That would be great if it was
know.
Pitt State we were talking about. That would have been beautiful.
Yeah, no, really. But no, I really do think that this game comes down to turnovers, and it's going to come down to turnovers. Who starts faster? Because if Ferris doesn't start fast, then Harding's going to start to milk the clock with their offensive scheme. They're just good at that. But if Ferris does start fast, how does Harding rebound in the sense of, do they necessarily change what they're doing? Does Harding throw the ball more than 5 times this game? Stuff like that, right?
Yeah, that'd be an interesting line. You know what I mean? Not that we're betting individuals, but that would be an interesting line. Over under Harding pass attempts in this game, and it might be at 4.5, right? That's not a ridiculous line.
No, and I think that's it's weird because you don't want to change if it's broke, but in game-to-game situations, you and I have seen, whether it's being a fan of football, being a part of the game, or just being at a game,
yeah,
there are times when it's hey, we're down 10. We need to go. We cannot run the ball. Stuff like that. So it's whose strength outperforms the other strength, if that makes sense.
That's a pretty good way of saying it. We'll leave it on that. It's strength versus strength, and there's not glaring weaknesses for these teams. It's more of a matter of how do they respond if and when, right? So, yeah. It's gonna be awesome, man.
I'll be shocked if this game is over 50 total points between the 2 teams.
Really?
I think it's going to be a slugfest.
Okay.
I would say I'm going to go 24-20. I'm going to go 24-20. I think Ferris gets it done. Maybe it's a little homer in me, rooting for the GLIAC team. But I just think they just get it done. I think the three-headed monster, and I'm just curious to see if they do start fast, how Harding it just gets back in the game. But I
Yeah,
do think regardless, it's going to be one of those like 24-20, maybe 21-17 games. Like I think
dang.
this is just we're shouting out a lot of guys on the offensive side of the ball right now,
Yeah.
but these two defenses are legit.
I got it higher scoring affair than that for sure. I think the first team to 30 wins it in my book.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think someone's scoring 30 on Saturday. Something tells me they're not dealing with this weather and all this shit anymore. I think they're unloading and the offense can really, be free on that. I just hope I can watch it. I'll be in Puerto Rico, so I got to figure out and make sure that I got some time on the schedule going with NMU men's basketball. So I got to make sure I can tune into this thing. Joining the show tonight, saying this guy might be the best receiver in all D3 football, that'd be an understatement, and it's more fitting, even more so, that he plays for the top team in the country from North Central College. The man himself, Thomas Skokna. What's up, dude?
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Excited to get you on here, man. And this is a team we talked about quite a bit on the pod, but also maybe not as much as we should have, right? What you guys do week in and week out to opponents makes it difficult to talk about this group in the best way possible because you guys are ruthless, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And we've come accustomed to seeing you score on Saturdays, man. But we almost had a big man touchdown on Saturday. That was definitely a turning point in this game from my perspective. Hate to see the big man not get his points. From your guys' perspective, massive turning point in this game. Talk about that stop. The defense comes up big there.
Yeah, I mean, per usual, our defense is making plays, but yeah, that was crazy. So I was just confused because I see what I thought the dude was tackled, and then I just watched the crowd cheer, and the lineman's in the end zone with the ball. Like
Yeah.
I was rattled, honestly, and then they were like, even the guys on defense were telling me they were talking to the guys. They're like, that was so crazy. Like, that's the coolest thing I've ever done. Like, the Bethel guys were telling them that because they were like amazed by it. But yeah, I'm glad they got the call right. I was confused how it was a first down, but I mean, it is what it is. Happens. It's college football,
E plus R equals O, brother. The response was a good one. It has been over the course of this year for you guys, and now we're talking about a team 6th straight semifinal appearance for this Cardinals team, man. You look at it like the question for you is dynasty a word that is thrown around in this locker room, or is that something that we wait to add on a little bit more hardware here and we talk about it kind of in retrospect?
I mean, I feel like we usually just take it week to week. I mean, at least for playoffs, our talk has just been sign a 7-day contract. Buy yourself another 7 days, get that win. You have another 7 days. And that's what we did on Saturday. But yeah, obviously, what teams have done in the past is impressive, and they're a huge part to our success now too, because that culture that they've passed down and the culture that we have here is special. I don't think it's like any other place in the country, and I think that's what our success is based off of, honestly.
Freaking love that 7-day contract. It's like the Phillip Rivers mindset. Got to go out and earn another one.
Yeah,
I didn't see the final from that one today. Did they end up winning that?
I think they lost, honestly.
Okay. Well, either way, that ruins it. But the analogy is there. You got to earn it. You got to earn the next 7.
Yeah.
100%. And your name obviously has been talked a lot about this fall and what you've been able to do on the field. I think some people are very quick to forget that you led this team receiving last year in 24 and that national championship run and had some big time moments and big time catches along the way. How do you feel your game has continued to evolve, even with maybe some new and maybe some different faces leading the charge for this Cardinals group offensively?
I mean, I'll definitely just say my teammates and my coaches. I mean, they put me in the place to succeed, and they make my job easier. Obviously, I had Luke last year, so I mean, you're 2-time Heisman Trophy winner, Gagliardi Trophy winner, like throwing you the ball. So it was weird adjusting from him, but I mean, me and Garrett got to know each other over the summer, and he's a stud. He just puts the ball where it needs to be, and I just do the rest from there. But really, just a shout out to, I mean, our O-line's good, our running backs are good. Our defense just keeps us on the field, and I love that about them. So definitely a shout out to our defense. They're a bunch of studs.
I love that. And we're going to keep seeing you out of the backfield. We had a couple more instances of that this past weekend. Get you into some fun concepts.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they haven't given me any tips on this week yet.
Okay. Okay.
Even if I did, though,
That's
I
good.
don't know.
And even if you
I
did,
don't know
yeah.
if I'd answer
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Fair.
it. But yeah,
How have you seen defenses react to that when you have shown that in the past? Because obviously this weekend we got a little bit more of that because, as you and I both know, if we got an inside backer going out on you in coverage, things could probably get ugly pretty quickly.
yeah, exactly. I think it develops some leverage for us for sure. And then it just throws people off, putting me back there. They got to worry about a receiver in the backfield, and I think this week we didn't really do too much out of it, but we
Mhm.
just kind of showed a look, and um, yeah, hopefully we got some more of it. I'd love to run some actual concepts out of it.
Okay. Here we go. Start the campaign now. Start the push. And to your point, even if you show that one or two times, it's something that a defense has to account for, and they got to create and game plan for that, right? So you're taking away from
Yeah.
their prep and adding another layer onto their calls and what they already have to be worried about with this really dynamic offense, man. And this is certainly not a one-dimensional attack for you guys offensively, right? The challenge with a lot of playmakers, of course, that all the great teams face is how do you get the ball in all the playmakers' hands and how do you keep all of them involved, right? How do you feel that this offense has done that really well so far in 2025?
I mean, I feel like different teams just take different approaches trying to stop us. Teams will try to stop the run, and we got Jack Romo on the other side. We got Grant McAtee, Jalen Johnson, Miles
Dog.
Wall. We got a bunch of dudes that are dangerous, and if you want to take care of the run, cool, we'll let you, but we're going to take advantage of you over the top. And then just obviously our running backs, Donnie, Sean, Jordan. I mean, they're all studs with the ball in their hands. Donnie, I mean, what was he last week, averaging 12.4 yards a carry?
Yeah, that was
Like,
ridiculous.
yeah, like he's a force to be reckoned with, and along with the rest of our backfield. So it's like you could take your choice. You can try to take advantage of one of them, but we're gonna hurt you at one point.
You talked about Garrett building some of that familiarity over the summer, of course, with him coming in and kind of being the guy in this group. He's been as dynamic and really more notably, as efficient as some of the best in the country, which seems to be a calling card of whoever is the quarterback of this Cardinals team. How has that connection, that chemistry started to grow and evolve? And what have you learned about him as a playmaker and as just a field general in these last couple of weeks, especially in the postseason?
I mean, yeah, obviously kudos to him. I mean, you're trying to replace Luke Landon, so you got a lot of pressure on your shoulders, and he came in and dominated it. Honestly, I mean, he buys in, he goes and meets with the coaches extra, he meets with the receivers, will go with us, go get food. Like he's all about the team, and he's really bought into the program. So I'm very proud of him. And I think he's going to be a special player for North Central for the next 4 years.
I got to go back and look at the math when it comes to you in particular, but I want to say when I looked at it semi recently, it was 1 in every 3 or 4 catches were for 6 for you. Do you just have a nose for the blank spot in the end zone? I mean, what is the secret to being open and reaching pay dirt for you? Because it happens at a higher clip and higher percentage possibly than anyone else in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it helps when you're playing for one of the best teams in the country. I will
Boom.
say it's definitely not just me.
Yeah.
It's my team, it's my coaches putting me in the correct spot. But yeah, I mean, I like to make people miss. As soft as it sounds, I'm not trying to get hit.
I like that. Okay, here we go.
But I mean, I take hits every once in a while, and it's worth it for these guys. But yeah, we just love each other more than the team across from us, and I think that's what makes us special, and that's what gets me in the end zone. So yeah.
And that is shown on Saturdays with the product that you guys have put together. But now we've got national semifinals, man. John Carroll, they're coming into town. They're red hot. They're on a historic run right now. They're on a historic high. They've slain their demons, so to speak, and now you guys are next up. But they know exactly what to expect when it comes to this North Central team. What do you know about this Blue Streaks team very early on as we record this, of course, on Sunday? And what do you need to do to make it back to the ship?
I mean, yeah, obviously a good team, like very good team, very sound. Their defense is playing lights out. Can't say enough good things about them, but I think if we just do the right things, you've seen the last 2 weeks that teams keep turning the ball over. If we just hold the ball and make plays like we always do, our coach always says, like Spence always says, just do what we've been doing all year. Just don't try to be special. Just do the same thing we've been doing all year. Be consistent. We don't have to like go outside of our framework per se, I guess. Like we've done all the training in the spring, like we've put in all the hours. It's just now let's let that work come to shine. And I think that's all we got to do on Saturday. Just put our heads down. But obviously, yeah, a good team, so we're not gonna look over them at all.
Yep.
And yeah, just come out there and play our best game.
Keep playing your game. It's gotten you to this point, and done so in a very dominant fashion, man. This defense, though, I'll close out kind of on the defensive, standpoint. Whether it's guys like Sullivan up front, who looks absolutely terrifying, by the way, the eye black and whole deal he's got going on. Also, just the way he plays.
I saw your guys' little skit about him when you went onto his player profile.
Yeah, okay, you did see that.
I meant to send it to him. I don't know if he saw it, but that was fun. Yeah,
he's terrifying, man. That is a force.
He's a much nicer guy than he looks.
And then he lets on in the photo.
It doesn't help with all the eye black over his face he wears during the game.
Saturday's not a guy. Yeah, maybe not like that, but let's say Sunday through Friday, very much more fitting of that. I love that. But he, of course, is a big piece of that. There's guys across the board. But on the outside, you look at the athletic play that Roby made against lacrosse. That was one of the more wild ones that I had seen in a long time. That defensive secondary, how has that made you and this receiver core better? And what do you pick up from those guys that has helped elevate your game in your time at North Central?
Yeah, I mean, all year we're doing one-on-ones against each other. It's not just
I love that.
Not just during camp. It's every week we're doing one-on-ones. So getting to go against Mari Roby, Jamar Daniel, Braden Garrett, and Kyler, like you name it, these guys are all studs. And so it's obviously making our receivers better, learning how to run routes against them, and developing our younger guys when they got to go against them. But yeah, I mean, they're a bunch of studs. Our defense, I mean, it's a problem. Obviously, you saw, I mean, Bethel's a great team, and holding them to, 7 when the starters were in is very impressive. So yeah, I'm lucky to have them on our side. I would not want to be going against them, honestly.
Hell yeah. We get a lot of ones-on-ones then?
Huh?
You get a lot of ones-on-ones in practice then? Is it just the one-on-ones we get in 18 periods like that too?
Yeah, we do. So we work NASCAR, which is like our 2-minute offense.
Sure.
We work that against them, and then we'll do probably like 10 plays or so against them on Tuesday and Wednesday every week.
I like that. I think that's a common denominator with some of the best teams at any level of college football, right? Is they get that experience because that's about as close to live bullets as you can get, right? I mean, going against those guys. And whether it is a full, tackle period or you're playing just like thud, touch, whatever that is, man, whatever kind of period, whatever tempo you've got, just going against those guys, that's got to set a little bit of a different tempo and energy, at practice.
Oh, it is. And the team does a good job about bringing the energy to it. Everybody's on their feet, like, getting excited. So, I mean, it's cool. And I will say, like, even going into my first game last year was my first game starting. I don't know if you knew that. I didn't play very much my freshman and sophomore year. But I remember going into the first game, and I was telling one of the other receivers, Jacob Parody, how nervous I was. And he's like, just think about it this way. You're going against the best defense every day in practice in the country. Like, now you just got to go and play a team that's probably not as good as them. Like, you shouldn't be as nervous as you think. Like, I always look back at that and think, like, how much better it's definitely made us as a team, and definitely me as a person going against those guys.
That is awesome. That is awesome, man. You get another chance to host this weekend too, which has not been a given for you guys. Go back just a couple of years ago, right? This is it's been an interesting ordeal, but you guys have earned that right to continue hosting the playoffs, man. But that's all I got for you tonight, brother. I appreciate you a ton. I'm excited to tune in and continue watching this ride for you guys.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I love it. I love everything you guys do for D3.
You're the man. Thanks, brother. Have a good week and good week of prep. In Division III football, we're one step behind from the D2 and NAIA counterparts, but doesn't mean we're any step behind in terms of quality of play. Also, volume. I think, you talk about it like that. Quarterfinal games we're talking about today. We've got some teams that are decided, fellas, moving on to the semifinals. And who else to start this thing off than the new kid in the dance, so to speak, Falcons. They're soaring into the semifinals the first time in program history. It's their first NCAA semifinal appearance. Seth, I'll lead it off to you, but I'm gonna say, like, just first note off rip that I have written down on our thing is Blaha, no gloves in some ridiculous temps. Ballsy move from the quarterback, did not seem to hinder him in the slightest on Saturday.
Well, we've practiced in something similar. Maybe not that cold, but we've practiced in something similar. That kid's never gonna wear gloves ever. Like, it's just not gonna. Actually, I saw him. The first time I ever met Caleb was in a spring ball practice when I was in the transfer portal,
Yeah.
and he was wearing a full parka, like underneath his pads for spring ball. It was ridiculous, but yeah, I mean, it feels like every week since that Oshkosh loss on October 4th, they've been. I remember that because I was devastated, and I would not forget a day like that. But and then I also had to run a marathon after thinking about that freaking loss right after that. But anyways, they've been absolutely dominant from here on out. It's been absolutely wild. Try to, like I said, I've avoided the rat poison and pointing out, how good these teams are, how good River Falls. I try not to do it too much, even though I obviously have been promoting these guys. I've been talking them up, but let's talk about them quickly. I think they put up a phenomenal fight for Cucci. He's an incredible player and he's got a lot of weapons around him. And but that D line, man, for River Falls, they made it really challenging. And it was cold, as we're seeing from those pictures right there. But guess what? We do not care. It does not matter. It does not matter how cold it is. It doesn't matter if it's rain, sleet, snow, hurricane, sideways rain like we saw in week 1. It does not matter at all. And just to point out a couple of guys here, J.D. Hilton, 2 tutties, Blake Rohr, dog, Trevor Asher, man. That dude is impossible to tackle one-on-one. And then we talk about Caleb. He threw for 407 in the coldest game in school history. So big deal, I guess we'll call it. But again, defense is phenomenal. And we talked about this in the chat a little bit earlier today, but I don't know how I'm this calm. Like, I feel like I should be freaking out basically every single day, but I'm confident in the boys. I'm confident in Coach Walker, Coach Wissing, getting everybody ready to go. But we're one freaking game away from the Natty business. Johns Hopkins, no slouch. They got a great quarterback, great, really good defense, but we're one game away from the Natty, baby. One freaking game away. So I'm juiced, to say the least.
That sense of calm comes from the fact that all those guys that you just mentioned, they knew they'd have a team going into this year that had that level of expectation and that ceiling. So for them, not to say they expected to be in the semifinal, but they knew they'd have a shot, right? They knew they had the team and the guys to go and do it. And of course, the unsung hero for this team, how about the tailgaters, dude? Out here, photo from the man, Pat, the update from River Falls. Tailgaters ready at 10:45, more than 3 hours before kickoff. And guys, we had a chance to kind of be a part of that tailgate for a day, and we did the show down there outside of Raymer Field. And this is something that has grown for this team as this team has also kind of grown and evolved over the last couple of years. So that you have to highlight because of the atmosphere that has been built around this program and outside of the field. And, watching this one, it definitely wasn't a wire-to-wire win in some ways. Now, River Falls is not like they were trailing at a bunch of different points in this game. Like, don't let me get it twisted here, but there were a couple points in this ball game where you thought Wheaton, especially in the first half, they could have this thing definitely be competitive. River Falls turnover on downs in the red zone, and is that going to be the type of day? Are we going to be able to drive down the field and not punch this thing in for 6 and finish drives? But Braden Jones, right back for the Falcons. That's a lot of interceptions for this defense in 1 year. I kind of did a double take of the number there. 25 takeaways through the air for this Cobra Kai defense. Falcons go on to score off that takeaway, and Blaha, he's shown it in a variety of ways over the course of this season, but watching this one, his ability to make the off-platform throw across the body, do a lot of things that would make quarterback coaches wince across the country. He does it really well and scores on that play, and that kind of set the tone for me of what was going on. Asher, like you said, man, the touchdown run in the third quarter, that was impressive. As someone who has not seen or maybe talked about him the most in 2025, we got to change that focus because they got to do it in the offensive backfield for sure.
Yeah, and I will say I'm very happy for the Falcons. I know we've had our fair share of chatter and trash talking on the show, but I'm always here to support the WIAC teams. I want that to be known. So I'm a good sport.
I like that.
Well, we appreciate that over here in the Falcon Nation, Jimmy.
That is good. That is good. Engage Tim, you talked about him a bunch. The massive 4th down stop in the third quarter that keeps a 2-score lead. What do they do to build on top of that? That's the best play and the best timing, perhaps, to go and take a shot. They do just that, go down and score. And that was like bang, bang. That was, to me, maybe a nail in the coffin type of situation going into the second half. This team was absolutely floating.
I feel like every week so far, basically since the Oshkosh game, there's been one point in the game where they have an opportunity to put a nail in the coffin, seal it with the dagger. And they've done it each and every week. Like you think about the Whitewater game, it's probably one of those big shots downfield, or, again, Lacrosse, kind of similar situation. Chapman, it was kind of not even close. St. John's, like, again, like another one of those big long shots. Like this one, I mean, I think defensively, that second interception was really kind of the nail in the, it just, every week they keep just making those plays and being at your best when your best is needed, per se. That's the John Wooden quote, I believe. But I think that's the name of the game for this team, is when they've been needed to be at their best, they continue to do it. And so excited for these guys.
I mean, this was a 6-point game at one point.
Yeah, it was tight. I was clinching a little bit, boys.
To me, though, watching it, it didn't feel like it never got to that point. It never got to that feeling.
Yeah.
Like, the River Falls still had control in this, and they've done that really well. Some teams, it feels like, you don't have that same feeling going into an instance like that. They've controlled games like that, and to your point, have put teams away when they've had to. So, big time matchup coming up, of course, against the Johns Hopkins team that we'll talk about here shortly. But the first time in the NCAA semifinals for this squad, and now you get a chance to go out there and earn it. But I think that is where the sense of calm comes from, right? Is this, they knew going into 2025 that, of course, if Caleb can stay healthy and we got this thing rolling, that we have a team that can contend for a national championship. There's a lot of teams that say that going into the regular season. This coaching staff, these guys knew that was a lot closer to reality than most.
I think Coach Walker, since I've met that guy, he has said, like, we can win the national title. He has said we can win the conference title. Like, he's said this every single year. And even in years where maybe it seems a little far-fetched,
Sure.
I think the guys have continued to hear that. And over the course of the last 5 years, basically, these guys have heard it every single day. Like, hey, you can win this thing. You can do this. And guess what? Like, eventually, like, you're going to believe it and you're going to know that you can get there. And that's exactly what's happened. And it's, in years where, maybe we lost 3 or 4 games, like, now it's like you keep winning and you only got 1 loss under your belt. You just, it's kind of what you know now.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, I think that's been a big reason for it, is just the constant belief in these guys.
100%, and not exactly who they'll be taking on in the next round, but maybe another team that is a little unfamiliar to this stretch of the road. John Carroll, their historic run stays alive, 21-13 win over Barry on the road for the Blue Streaks. Might I add, their defense certainly stepping up. 7 turnovers on the road down there in Georgia for this Blue Streaks team. And I'll tell you, just my initial random impression from the first half is that Barry just didn't look like they belonged in terms of the pacing and the, I don't want to say skill disparity, but at some points, skill disparity at certain positions in that first half. Barry did not look like a team that maybe belonged in this football game. And John Carroll, who had the opportunity, you talk about 7 turnovers, to put this thing away and put that lead, maybe extend that lead, maybe doesn't capitalize on that. But there were opportunities for both these squads. The fumble recovery from John Carroll, they cough it right back up, Barry does, on the next play. And that just felt how this game was going, that these teams weren't able to capitalize and they needed to. John Carroll, they end up swinging just a few more times, and you see one of the turnovers right there on the freaking graphic. What a great shot.
I continue to watch this quarterback, Septenfelter, and he's not like super flashy. He doesn't do like a bunch of crazy things with his legs, and he just continues to show that he knows how to win football games. Doesn't matter if it's Barry or if it's Mount Union or if it's DePaul winning the conference championship. It doesn't necessarily matter. And man, one of my favorite parts about this time of the year is you get to continually watch these teams that maybe you haven't watched a ton. So I haven't watched a ton of John Carroll, but watching this team, man, they just look like a bunch of thick kids from Ohio and Pennsylvania, and they're stocky, and they get takeaways. And man, like Septenfelter is just like, he's like the epitome of what a John Carroll quarterback with this specific team is supposed to look like and play like. And man, like you said, they dominated this one from the jump. It felt like, maybe not necessarily indicative of the score, but like just the eyeball test, watching this thing live, it's like, man, they control the game. Similarly to like what we talked about with River Falls, they just control the game, fellas.
They definitely do, and he's got some freaking weapons on the outside too. Montgomery being one of those. You saw 2 of the takeaways right there in the clip. We got some DBs that are just ball hawks in that defensive secondary, but Montgomery is, and we talked about it. We talked about it when we had Felter. We had Nick on the podcast. Like, he's a freak. He no business being here. And he had said, Kobe, this guy, he's not played football forever. This is not a guy who had a vast high school football experience. This is very new to him. And so for him to be showing up at this level, at this late of a stage in the game, is really impressive because he just doesn't have that wealth of experience. Most of these guys have been playing football since they're in middle school, and that's not the case for their best receiver and potentially arguably the best player on this team.
Yeah. No, certainly. And looking towards next week, you got a North Central team. I'm sure the only people that thought they were going to beat Mount Union were the guys in those locker room, right?
Sure.
And now they're coming in as 17.5-point underdogs on the road at North Central. And let me tell you this. I guarantee you that those guys think they can win that game. And that's the only thing that matters. Like, we can say all we want about North Central and how good they are, but the bottom line is this. If those guys believe they can go win, then they can do it. I would love to see it personally. I think North Central's won enough. I love all those North Central guys on Twitter. They're great. They're really funny. But, man, I'd love to see them go down. Personally, I would.
They will come after you for that, Jimmy.
Good.
Good.
I hope
They
do.
will. All those guys, man. They take
up.
anything and just come after you.
Yeah, bulletin board material for the Cardinals. It's like
They
need
do,
any
dude.
more, right? But
in all seriousness, man, you knocked off one of the, we'll say, defending national championship appearances, and you have the opportunity to do both in 1 year. It would be an incredible feat. I'll leave it at that.
It's like the Grim Reaper knocking on every door. It's like Mount Union, Barry, and now they're knocking on the door of North Central. They're knocking.
Yeah, and
might be a bigger Grim Reaper on that other side.
Yeah, I was gonna say what.
You might be right. You might
have Death himself on the other door.
In Sempton Felter.
No, but I do kind of want to see like a River Falls North Central championship, but
I don't.
We'll see.
Sempton Felter, he is, man. He is like not flashy in the conventional sense. He has more than enough arm talent to get him by, but he doesn't have a cannon attached to his right shoulder. He is more than quick enough to make it hurt when it comes to quarterback run, but he might not be the fastest dude on the team. He is just jack of all trades. I don't want to say master of none, because I think that mastery is the way that he commands and controls this offense, and his off-schedule backyard football type of playing as well is another thing we've started to see when we talk about all these quarterbacks that we got on the list today. I mean, that's one quality that I feel like all these guys have, right? You talk about Blaha, Sempton Felter, Wilson. We haven't had to see as much of it, given their breadth of work over the course of this year. A guy like Harvey, who has been obviously involved. So I think that's a trait and a characteristic we've seen from a lot of these guys so far in 25 that has separated them.
Yeah, Sempton Felder's definitely, he's going to finish second in the Gallardi. I don't know if they vote on it or how that's determined, but he's going to finish second. At least he should. And there's a lot of incredible guys, but this dude is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and he's proved it just based on winning. And he's like it looks like he plays football kind of like a pickup basketball game a little bit. Like he is the facilitator. He does it, he's like Adam Sandler, in all those clips, like throwing behind the back, like doesn't look super, like, I guess elegant at times, but he's just like, I don't know. There's just something about that dude that I love.
He's got that dog in him. He just got that dog in him.
He's got that blue streak in him.
Let's talk about Grim Reaper, man. This North Central team, and they go and they beat Bethel, which is, obviously to this point in the season, you're not going to have any gimmies, but we all agreed that Bethel was going to pose the toughest threat to this North Central team they had seen in very recent history, the way that team and the trajectory of the Royals had looked. And to be honest, and I know, Seth, you and I were texting about this when it happened, we got to start with right before the half. Bethel, they got a chance to tie it at 14. With 8 seconds left, no timeouts on the board from, I believe it was like the 2-yard line. All you need to know is they were very, very close. The quarterback sneak decision, instead of trying to get 2 scoring looks, and we know, we've seen him in person, that Cooper Drews is an absolute unit of a human. Like, he's a guy that I would probably give him like the Josh Allen of the Division III football type of deal. I don't think that's a crazy comparison watching him play.
Valid.
With that being said, I don't even think the Bills – I actually made the Bills. That might not be the best example. They might go ahead and do it. But when you have a potential for 2 scoring looks, the quarterback sneak, walk me through watching that. That felt like a very decisive turning point for this Bethel team. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, again, like the weird part about that sequence of events is I believe right before that was the pitch to the O lineman that got called a touchdown.
Yeah, so
not sure if we
Skokna
have
had talked about that. That whole stadium was just stunned. Like, they were just quiet.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And so strange situation, and obviously being the Division III playoffs, you have replay assist. And it was taking a while, and I'm thinking, man, if I'm that film guy and this shit's not working right now, I am pissed. And so, you go back and you look at, and I know the announcers were just like, this is crazy. You got to come up to this and look at it. Those guys do a great job. They're homers for sure, and that's perfectly fine. But then again, yes, you get another shot at it. I can't remember if it was first down, second, whatever the case was, but you essentially have no timeouts, no time on the clock. And so, but you have downs to play with in a little bit of time. And so, and the guys talked about this on the broadcast, and then you of course saw it, on social media as well. But from my perspective, I'm thinking, okay, let's find Rundle right away on a whip route, on a quick slant, maybe even throw a fade ball if you really want to. And then again, nothing there. Throw it out of the back of the end zone, and then you bring in that fullback. Like we saw a bunch of times, they get out empty, and then they brought that fullback in, and then they essentially ran. I couldn't speak to the scheme, but essentially like quarterback ISO up the gut, and it worked a lot in the open field. But then you get the heavy personnel in because you have the stoppage of play because of the weird pitch thing, but then you get the sub that I think North Central actually took a timeout before that, get the heavy personnel in, and then they run the quarterback ISO. And again, I don't think it's a bad play call. I think it's not necessarily what I would do with that much time on the clock with a down to play with. So it's definitely a unique decision. I love what Coach Dooling does on offense with the wide split.
If he got pushed 1 yard further, we would just shut up and continue talking. This game could have had a very different outcome. We talk about winning the 2 minutes before the half and coming out of the half. Those are momentum type of points of the game. That Bethel team you watch as the clock expires after he goes down, everyone's just kind of sitting there stunned. Like, would that just happen? Like, I thought, that momentum they had just stopped abruptly twice, because here we go. We thought he had a touchdown. Big man rumbles into the end zone, and then we thought we'd get it again and stops for two very different reasons back-to-back times.
Yeah, and it's just, you have the opportunity to not only be tied going into halftime with the defending national champions, won 3 of the last 4, but also have an opportunity to get the ball after halftime and go up. And so, I can't remember exactly what happened. They had a couple of special teams mishaps that kind of screwed them over a little bit. But then you have the fumble. It's just, and then it spiraled from there.
It did, and that's what North Central does. They wait until that moment, and they play sound football. And you'll talk about it a little bit, the offensive line for this group, and that seems to be the common denominator of all of these great successful teams. And yes, having a phenomenal quarterback under center at the helm of this thing is also very important. Having some of the defensive pieces that they have is really important. Skokna had talked about how they still get ones-on-ones every week in practice. Those receivers, that DB core, they're getting one-on-one action against the best, so he's getting to work against some really talented guys. But of course, Donovan McNeil, 144 yards, 3 touchdowns. That was his game. That was his performance. We talked a lot about the other guys, other pieces of this offense, guys like Skokna, like Wilson, who didn't have maybe their biggest day on the year. That's an understatement, but this is a tough team to play against with the depth they have across the board, and that offensive line group is the start, the beginning and the end of it.
I don't watch a ton of North Central throughout the course of the year because they, of course, play kind of at the same time as River Falls, some of the other games I'm interested in. I'm also not interested in watching them blow out North Park by 70. So that's part of it. But again, you play who you play. But watching this game is probably one of the first games I've watched of North Central's. That offensive line is absolutely freakish to look at. They look like an FCS or a group of 5 offensive line, just based on the eye test. And I think that's a big reason why, like, they're able to do what they do. You mentioned, the running back McNeil, like coming off an injury, and then just it looked like nobody would touch him in the first 5 yards, and then he would make a play. But I mean, for that quarterback Wilson, man, like he just sits back there, and nobody's ever in his grill. He's able to get the ball to Skokna and company. Like, I mean, that is why this team continues to be insane. And as well, they bring back 4 of those guys next year as well.
Scary.
very scary.
And the talent retention from them has been really good. That's an unsung piece of this too, in that we talk about Ferris State all the time, which you want to give a comp at the D2 level. That's about as apples to apples as you're going to get right now in the runs these two teams are on. Ferris State has even struggled with some of these guys and losing them to the portal and bigger opportunities. North Central, yes, you have a few, but largely, man, they've been able to keep together a very talented roster year over year. And there's a guy too on this team that we haven't highlighted as much, a stud, and that's Aiden Ellison, the kicker. He's only the second D3 kicker to win the Fred Mitchell Award. This is the video, fellows, from when he was presented one of the top awards for the specialists in all of college football.
My name is Fred Mitchell. You know that already that you were among the top 10 finalists nationally. Pleased to inform you that you are the 2025 winner of the Fred Mitchell Award. Congratulations.
Wow. I really appreciate it. It's an honor. I can't tell you how much it means to me. That's crazy.
That's awesome.
Hey, don't go too crazy on the. Don't go overboard here. Hey, let's dial it back a little bit. But he, in all seriousness, man, he's absolutely earned that. He was selected from more than 750 eligible kickers across FCS, Division II, Division III, and NAIA programs. The award recognizes excellence on the field as well as a commitment to community service, which is, if you go through and read the story on North Central's website, they have a good blurb on what he's accomplished off the field. You can't help but watch that video and think, holy Brad Spencer. Like, that feels like a very similar-esque reaction we would get from the head coach of this program. Certainly seems to have reflected onto his guys. But yeah, all fun and games, like a really big accomplishment for him. He's done some incredible things this year. 12 consecutive field goals, finishes the season 13 for 14. He is 3 for 4 from beyond 50, including a 57-yard field goal, which is the longest made in North Central history, boys.
Was the one he missed in the Bethel game?
That's a good question. I'd have to go back and
look. I think it actually might have. I'm not sure if they counted that one into that thing, but I mean, that ball was hard as a rock over there in Naperville and difficult. I mean, hard to kick. I mean, he was, I think if I'm thinking of the right one, it would have been good from 50, but not 52, which is what I believe the field goal was. But yeah, that dude's an absolute weapon. I mean, he is scary to have, and especially in the playoffs when points sometimes are hard to come by at times, like, you know, not necessarily for them, but like it's gonna continue to get harder, I think. But like having a guy like that, as soon as you cross like the 40, to have a guy with some range like that, that's big time.
He will be formally presented with the Fred Mitchell Award at the National Football Foundation Metro Chicago Chapter Awards Ceremony, holy mouthful, on February 16th. So he's got a little bit of time, but that'll be in Chicago where he gets formally presented that award. So definitely a big piece of their success. And, of course, the man at the helm for North Central, he gets his flowers ahead of a national semifinal matchup. And those come in the form of an award from the American Football Coaches Association, AFCA D3 Coach of the Year is Brad Spencer, boys, from North Central. He reigns in the big-time award, and I think a lot of times these awards are expected to go to maybe an upstart team that has overperformed compared to expectations. How about the team that has all the expectations in the world and continues to go at an incredible clip? I would say that sometimes, and more often than not, that is even more difficult. You talk about people who have been a part of dynasties and really successful programs at any level of football or across athletics. That continued expectation is so tough, to go out and try and outperform yourself on a year-to-year basis. Brad Spencer and company have done just that in Naperville.
You know, I think with you know, obviously Coach Thorne's passing, you know, obviously condolences to the family there.
Absolutely.
I know he learned, you know, I know Coach Spencer learned a ton from Coach Thorne, and it's really cool to see, you know, what Coach Spencer has continued on with that legacy. And, you know, the thing about this North Central team, you know, you lose the Gallardi, the two-time Gallardi winner, two-time national champion, Luke Lanen. And then, you know, they did have to replace a lot of those offensive linemen. And then also, like, a lot of those defensive guys, like, they didn't return either because it was a very senior-led group last year.
Yeah.
And he's continued to recruit, continued to show off this program, and they've continued to win. So he's definitely deserving of it. You know, if there's one Division III guy that's continued to have success and does deserve it, it's this guy.
100%. Couldn't agree more, man. And we'll kind of wrap it up there when it comes to North Central. We'll talk about the team that River Falls gets in the semifinals. Let's talk a bit about this Johns Hopkins squad that looked, as you see there, they looked freaking dominant on Saturday, man. 40-10 over a Susquehanna team that was on a 9-game winning streak that had really gone out and impressed a lot of people to this point in this run. And this is a team that maybe hadn't dominated the national conversation, but we said it just a week or two ago. You have to remember that this Riverhawks team still has one of the best offensive backfields in the entire country with guys like Ehrlich and Lamons and fronting up this offense. Johns Hopkins, they knew all about that. They snuffed them out. 10 points for the Susquehanna team is a ridiculous number that goes to show what this defense and team are capable of.
Yeah, certainly. You got to give props to that defense, but I got to make a couple comments about this offensive line. I talked a lot about Bay Harvey being must-see TV last week. How about that Johns Hopkins offensive line? They're a walking highlight reel, open field blocks in the trenches, whatever it might be. I mean, just unbelievable stuff from those guys up front, just steamrolling their way to the semifinals. And again, we talked about John Carroll being a pretty big underdog. They're just as big as underdogs this week. They're 14-point underdogs against River Falls. Can they pull off an upset? Maybe, but they're gonna have to win that battle in the trenches. And River Falls, obviously, with that Cobra Kai defense, you got to give props to those guys generating all those turnovers and everything. But if they could establish the run game early, gave Bay Harvey some time to throw, they got a shot. They have a heck of a ball club over there. And again, I've been really high on this team all year long. And again, they're running into their toughest competition all year by far. And they're going to have to bring their A game this week against a really, really, really good River Falls ball club.
Yeah, and they're doing that, and it coincidentally times up with the best football they've been playing all year. This is how Saturday started, boys, against the Riverhawks, and you'll see it right here, a little trickery from this Johns Hopkins team. Have it on the reverse. Oh, boy. There's not a guy within 20 yards on this first touchdown. Shout out Logan Moyer for the fantastic video and coverage.
A great play call.
I mean, look at how wide open to open this game up. You got a little trickery to give you guys the edge at home and get on the board first. That's how you start the game if you're Johns Hopkins. And then they go defensively and they do it again. And this team, when we talk about dominance, they were dominant, I think, really wire to wire in this one. And they did not give Susquehanna a chance to even breathe, and they did it on both sides of the ball. The next big play I wanted to highlight here was a big-time fumble recovery from this defense. You'll see Ehrlich, one of the maybe uncharacteristic giveaways here, as he's rolling out to his left. Johns Hopkins coming up, punch that thing out, strip sack type of deal. That is recovered there finally. Bay Harvey would go on to punch in that touchdown following the turnover. Couple plays in, they punched that in from just about the 1 or 2 yard line. And this Johns Hopkins team was rolling early, playing some really complimentary football, fellas, the Blue Jays. And they keep tacking on. This game started to get honestly out of hand because of the way that this Johns Hopkins defense was playing. There was no light at the end of the tunnel for a Susquehanna offense that could not move the ball down the field. And yes, you're still going to get your plays if you're this Riverhawk offense with those guys that I talked about, but this Johns Hopkins defense was allowing for no opportunities. And then you have right here, Jeff Schroeder, big time touchdown, breaks away from the scrum, and he's got enough speed to get by the rest of the defensive secondary from Susquehanna. Maybe not a trait that we've come to expect from him. He's got it though. Look at that.
He's scooting. He's scooting.
He is scooting, man. So,
adios.
Yeah, that was that was really all JHU, man. 20-3 at that point after that touchdown. That they were rolling. That's the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, I mean, the one guy I definitely want to highlight is the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, Alex Horvadets. Since he's been there in 2023, he's been there since 2020 as receivers coach, but since he took over as the offensive coordinator in 2023, they put up 472 yards in this first year per game is when he first got there. And it feels like every year since that they've continued to stack on what they do there. And I mean, again, like I shouted about on the trick play there early in the game. And initial thoughts on these guys is they're damn good. They're damn good. And, they got to get on a plane and come all the way out here to Wisconsin. And it's going to be a fun battle, but they are very good. I will not sugarcoat it. They are a very solid, well put together football team. And if there's another Josh Allen comparison, it's probably Bay Harvey as well.
Yep. Facts.
Right. It's a bunch of Josh Allens running around here.
Which is crazy, by the way, because he is like literally a unicorn. You see the guy on the graphic is the man himself, Carson Bordeaux, for this defense, the captain, number 11, this defensive secondary. He is a quiet difference maker. And I say quiet because for some of the game, especially the defensive secondary and some of those DB positions, the best time is when no one's talking about you because that means you're doing your job usually at a pretty high clip. He's not afraid to get involved in the run game. No, neither is anyone on this defense, but he had a couple moments on Saturday where you're like, that's a captain type of play. This guy comes up on like a 3rd or 4th down conversion, and he's going to jump the route, tackle this guy short of the sticks, and he gets up. He's going to let you know about it too, but he plays with such confidence and he plays so prepared. It's definitely very visible that his understanding of his role inside of this defense is absolute. And this guy flies around the field. He makes the plays right when it feels like Johns Hopkins needs a little bit of a momentum shift. And this one, obviously, they were head and shoulders the better team, but he's a guy for me on this defense that has been so fun to watch in those big moments because a lot of times when the game or even just the drive is on the line, you're going to find 11 in the pile, dude. Close that up, huh?
Bookend, baby.
Book it.
40
Good
to 10
bookend.
for JHU, man. They freaking rolled. That was a wild result, fellas. And I mean that's kind of it, hey?
Yeah.
Here we
got some
go.
really good semifinal games coming up, and the spreads could be deceiving, but 2 very, very lopsided games in terms of who's favored. What do you make of that?
Hey, you got to play the game.
Sure.
You got to play the game, man. You see these big point spreads all the time. Like, you saw a couple huge upsets already in the playoffs. Like, if there's ever a time for an upset, it's in the semifinals. And I don't necessarily know if one of these underdogs is going to come out and win, but I'd love to see it.
What I will
Don't
say,
give in to the cheese, boys. Don't.
What
give
I
in to
will
the
say
cheese.
about that is, you have 2 teams that are favored by multiple scores going into the national semifinals. Some people might see that as that's boring. We kind of know who the shoe-in winner is, who will have in the national championship. Say that pans out. Look at Division 1 or Division 2 and NAIA, for example, who are a week ahead in the progression. You've got Ferris State and Harding. By far and away the 2 best teams in Division II football, the only 2 remaining undefeated teams, the consensus number 1 and number 2 throughout the entirety of the season that are facing off the national championship, something that would have been impossible to do just a year ago in the Super Regions before they had changed. In the NAIA, you have a rematch of the 2024 national championship with Grandview and Keiser, 2 best teams in all of NAIA football, consensus number 1 and number 2. And to me, yes, the semifinals in both those instances, NAIA not so much because those are really good games, but D2 are kind of a snooze fest, if we're being honest. But what you do know for sure is that there is no dispute about a national champion. There is zero dispute that this will be the best 2 football teams in the country facing off for the championship. And again, we still got a week of football to play. Both of these teams could be upset on their own fields. But if River Falls and North Central are the draw, these are the 2 hottest teams in all the country, and this is going to give you the best product. Now, they still got to go prove it on Saturday, but that'd be my antithesis, so to speak, my devil's advocate for the top dogs continuing to roll and performing on the big stage.
So does this mean? And then shout out to part of my take is this cool throne for the bracket makers?
Yeah,
per se?
Yeah.
it is.
Hey, I
This
like
cool
that.
throne.
Hey,
I think
good
this cool
pull,
throne.
Seth.
Who's
Very
hot
good
seat,
pull.
then?
Let's see here. Hot seat.
Hot seat might be Josh Allen because he's got some dupes running around in D3.
Hey man.
Hey, shout out Josh Allen. They're expecting a kid already.
Yeah. Hey, good for him.
Wow.
Him and JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy had a kid before him.
Don't even get me started on that.
9, baby.
Hey, he's been looking a lot better recently.
He's been slanging it. He's been slanging that
Dude.
thing.
Hopefully he stops his barefoot yoga pregame.
Yeah.
I think he actually needs to start doing it. I don't think he's been doing it.
Joining the show tonight, quarterback of the Keiser Seahawks. They're heading to their fourth consecutive national championship game. This guy holds more records for this team than I got time to list. It's the quarterback for the Seahawks, Shea Spencer. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me, bro.
Excited to get you on here. I say this with a lot of guys. I'll say it with you. Don't know what the hell took me so long. You've been tearing it up. Been very fun to watch on Saturdays here, especially going on this run that I think a lot of people take for granted for you guys now, right? This is not a program that has been around forever, but you guys so quickly have come to expect it to be in this situation, in this instance. And with that, it's a really good problem to have, right? But, you go back and look after this weekend, you might not be able to beat the running back allegations after Saturday's performance, dude.
Everybody's calling me a dual threat now, and I mean, hey,
all of
a sudden, I'm a dual threat guy. But no, I mean, I think I've always had the ability to run. I just haven't really had to do it, and just so happened that the scheme that College of Idaho brought to us was a lot of man matching, and I knew I had to use my legs, and it got the job done. So, dare
I say, sneaky athletic?
I like that more. The dual threat out of nowhere is kind of crazy.
That's incredible. Yeah, a quarterback all of a sudden of let's just say your complexion goes and have a good a rushing game, and all of a sudden the word sneaky athletic, that term is being thrown around like clockwork all over the place. But yeah, to your point, it's one of those things that's been a necessity deal, right? I mean, touchdown runs of 31 and 41 yards. Who let the boy get loose on Saturday, man?
Hey, man. Someone let me get loose, dude.
I love it, man. You talk post-game about that scheme and having to be very patient against a College of Idaho defense that has wreaked havoc on some really good football teams over the course of 2025. They've caused, kind of to your point, some of the most, if not the most, turnovers in all of NAIA football. For you, talk about being more patient. What does that do for your mindset? And not necessarily slowing this offense down, but maybe slowing down your decision-making process on some of those drives. What does that do to maybe change the way you approach?
I think at the end of the day, every single play has to be its own play, and you can't really force anything with those guys because they will make you pay with it. I also think being patient and taking what they give you is very, very crucial, and it's going to be the same way this next week up against Grandview. Not to mean to jump ahead, but they're a good defense as well. So. I think it's very important to take what the defense gives you and not really force anything until you need to force something, and then you got to make a play.
100%. Before we talk more about that game, Coach Russ was, sidelined away from this team for a little while, battling an illness. We're very happy to see him back. One, of course, in good health, but also two, back on that freaking sideline. Tell me about the boost that he gave this locker room, man, in the moment that you guys, of course, found out that he'd be back with you for that semifinal matchup. Have to imagine that was a pretty awesome moment for this group.
Yeah, man, we love seeing that guy, man. He fires us up, and he is a very quiet, humble guy, but his presence of just being in the locker room just takes over, and his attitude and everything that we kind of follow of not only him just being a coach, but just being a man as well. And I think he's done so much for this program, and he's been tested and battle tested just like this football team has. And I think from us seeing kind of what he went through and now portraying that onto the field, it's just taken us that much more to want to get this job done and do it for him, man.
Finish the job, man. I'm sure that's the sentiment around that building right now. And just like this program, the grand scheme of things is a very young one at that, right? One that has been thrust into the national conversation because of the level of play and because of some great coaches, of course, before that have come through. Coach Russ hasn't been with this team for multiple decades, like some of these teams that we talk about across the country. For you, that relationship between head coach and signal caller, how has that grown and evolved, and how does something like this strengthen that bond with you guys going through some of those shared experiences and being able also, I think this is kind of a maybe an underappreciated part of it, being able to spend so much more time with one another. When you talk about this postseason play and extending your season and the lifetime of this group, how has that relationship between you and Coach evolved?
Yeah, it's true. I never really even thought about it that way, is because we get an extra, 4 weeks every year.
Sure.
And I mean, we've come so accustomed to the national championships as a standard that we kind of take it for granted, I think. And kind of bring up a good point of just building that relationship and building that brotherhood. I mean, we break it down on family every single day because that's kind of what we are. We're a family. And I think just being tested from off the field to on the field now has just brought us that much closer together. And I mean, that guy and Coach Russ, man, he is just an amazing man, and he just brings us all together, and he just wants the best for all of us, not only in football, but of course outside in life too.
the best head coaches can do both. Obviously, get it right between the
100%.
white lines, but also being a role model as a man, as a maybe a father or husband, those kind of really big jobs down the line.
Exactly.
Quote unquote. Calling them jobs is certainly an understatement. But, you know, we talk about the inflection of that and riding that, I'm not going to say emotional high, but the emotions of bringing him back. You know, this team's ready to go out and kick some ass on Saturday. Maybe it didn't show on the scoreboard in the first half. You're down 21-9 at the break, but this team rallied, man. 20 unanswered points. You go on to, as I check the notes, 527 yards of total offense. That was the most that this Yotes defense had led up all season. What clicked for this offense and what enabled you to have what looked like some pretty explosive plays with the variety of offensive skill guys that you have on that side of the ball?
Yeah, it was actually kind of a weird game because usually if we come out slow, we're really slow. But we came out and we scored on the first drive.
Yeah.
And then we got in field goal range again. And then we just started shooting ourselves in the foot. And I think that's kind of been the common denominator for us not scoring. Because, I mean, me as a quarterback, I want to score every drive, just the competitor in me. But I know sometimes it's not going to happen. And we kind of looked back at halftime and we go over things and we're like, look, this is what happened on this drive. Like, we had a couple false start penalties. And I mean, that's hard to do when you're playing a really good defense. You can't get in 2nd and 15s or 1st and 15s. It's very, very difficult to do. So, I mean, I think when we went into halftime, we knew we had to be just more relaxed and just play our game and not really play uptight and just play each play, play each down. And we knew the offense was going to start clicking again. And I think the resiliency of this team speaks for itself like it did on Saturday. So.
Yeah, and that's a reflection of you too, right? Leading this thing, I think, and I can say that. You probably won't because you're too humble and too good of a dude to say it, but I'll say that because, you know, watching this team, another underappreciated part of the postseason acumen and experience you've been able to put together is that you got a lot of, well, just that experience in these moments, and you don't strike me as someone who, watching this as a quarterback or a player who's going to ride the emotional roller coaster throughout the course of a game, someone who maybe tries to keep it cool, calm, collected type of deal. Obviously, you guys score. You're the first one to go out there and get with your fellas and celebrate this thing. I'm not saying that you're not showing emotion on that field, but how has your demeanor maybe changed and settled, kind of, I want to say flatline, but settled throughout this run, and how do you feel that the previous runs have really helped prepare you for that?
I think, honestly, the game that changed me the most and set my demeanor in that way is a year ago yesterday was the semifinals against Benedictine, and we were down 17 points, 6 minutes left, and we come back and win. And I think literally just to play the next play mentality has never been bigger than that moment right there. And I think when I kind of get into those moments and I kind of start to like be like, all right, like we're down. You can't really think about that. You just have to play the next play. And I think that's kind of where that comes from. And I mean, but like you said, it's the experience aspect of it. Whereas another quarterback or another team that hasn't ever experienced being down, they might panic or they might just start chucking the ball all over the place and start just doing crazy stuff that they never even thought of. So I think the experience definitely plays a huge part in it. And like I said, we're a resilient group and we've been down in games that we weren't supposed to be down and we've come back. So, I mean, I think we're a very, very tough team, and just the grit factor that we kind of speak on all the time is huge in our program.
Love the grit factor. And there's an armed forces saying that I'm sure I'll butcher, but something about not raising to the expectations, but sinking to the level of your standards. I think I kind of hit that one on the head. I'm not going to lie. I think I got it. But you talk about that, not doing the uncharacteristic things, right? Not shooting yourself in the foot in those moments and trying to stay true to your identity and this team's identity that you've built. And to me, I go back now, we get to look retroactively, and you're, of course, all focused on this upcoming national championship game, which you should be. But talk about this regular season. I don't know if people gave you guys enough credit for the season that you put together. We talk about opening with a very talented Indiana Wesleyan team. You beat the brakes off of a Cumberland team that was, I think, getting some votes in the poll at the time. And now we get into Sun Conference play. There were some pretty good ball clubs inside of the conference this year that I don't know if people expected. Teams like Southeastern and Weber International that all of a sudden are putting together these teams that are contending inside of the conference. We knew that St. Thomas game was going to be fireworks, of course. But, you know, you guys go ahead and run the table in there. And what was it that gave this team the edge to keep that championship trophy and to keep this thing moving? Because again, I think people aren't giving this group enough credit for going through what was kind of a gauntlet of a 25-year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Sun Conference doesn't really get enough credit with how talented they are.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of really good teams. And I mean, unfortunately, the records don't show it because we have a lot of good teams. So like some of the teams, like you said, like Weber and Ave and even Warner, man, we were down 21-7 or something like that at Warner University. And I mean, they got talent. Like they're a talented team. So I mean, I think going through the Sun Conference sets us up for the playoffs, and it's very helpful for us because we have to play a tough opponent every single week, and we can't take a playoff because, like in the first half at Warner, in the last game of the regular season, like we were getting it handed to us. So I mean, it's very helpful to go through a talented group of teams all year to set us up for the playoffs and kind of know what to expect when we're in every in any given situation.
Yep. And now, of course, we get to talk about it. Coming up, national championship here. We get a rematch from last year, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you guys wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. You're for sure about that. I mean, we focus one game at a time, but you know that.
But now you get to focus on this one. Yeah, there's no more looking ahead. This is it.
There's no more. This is it. This is the game, and this is what everybody wants. It's competitive football. I mean, at this level of football it's college football at its best, honestly. So
I'd agree, man. We're getting the national championships that people deserve. And sometimes people might say, oh, you'll get like a March Madness. It's boring if it's all one seeds that make it to the finals, whatever. I want the best product possible. And I know for NAIA and D2, who are both at the championship level right now, that is exactly what we're getting when it comes to national championship games. I can say with certainty we are going to get the best two teams in the country that are playing for the national championship. And if it's any other way or you don't feel confident in that, then the system is flawed. And there are still things I'm sure that people would change and go back and modify. But the way I see it, we've got the two best ball clubs in the country that are facing off. What do you need to be prepared for going up against this Vikings team again?
I think, like I said earlier, we just need to play our own game. Like, we need to not shoot ourselves in the foot. We need to play relaxed. We need to play gritty and play like the Keiser Seahawks do, the Keiser Seahawk way. And I mean, we're going to take shots when we need to take shots, and we're going to run the ball when we need to run the ball. And we have so much talent around this entire team, and we're led by the best coach in the nation and the best man in the nation. So, I mean, hey, man, it's going to be a great football game, but we're ready. We're ready to bring home the trophy this year.
And then we can all certify you as dual threat and sneaky athletic after you bust off another, 30-plus yarder.
Yeah, for sure.
Then we'll have someone come out on the Twitter space. They'll be, I didn't know he had, a second gear. I hadn't seen that.
Every time I break the first level, the second level, they're like, "Man, Shea can actually kind of run." I'm like, "Well,"
you're like, "Why you have actually?" No, there's no need for an actually on there. You can just shake and move. There's no actually required. Actually,
Yeah, exactly. But
That's
no,
awesome.
I love it, man. Hey, whatever needs to be done, I'm willing to do it. And I mean, I'm ready for it, man.
You've stepped up at every point along the way for this team, man. No doubt that'll happen again in this championship. I'm excited to tune in. That's all I got for you tonight, my man. I appreciate you a ton. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you coming in.
Our NAIA football semifinal games spoiled us, and we got the best teams in the country going at it for the national championship. But unlike their Division II counterparts, the semifinal games, Matt, very much not snooze fests this weekend. I am, in the coming off of the eve of Thanksgiving, I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, I am too, because we got some really good football to talk about, especially kicking it off with Grandview versus Benedictine. We initially had talked about Benedictine's defense being a key to this game for their team, and not just them, but Grandview's defense too. They both absolutely showed out. It was very strange to see returning National Player of the Year Jackson Waring look human for the first time this season, but I think that's a testament to how prepared the Benedictine defense was. Now, on the flip side of that, the high-powered Benedictine offense that we've been so used to seeing all year couldn't quite convert in the red zone. They had a lot of issues with that. weren't able to capitalize on opportunities that Grandview doesn't give many teams.
Yeah.
Ultimately, going towards the end of the game in a low-scoring affair, you see Grandview's defense there absolutely step up to the challenge as Benedictine's on the 6-yard line to try to punch it in to tie it, and their defense gets it done for a stop. But ultimately, this was your very typical, late winter or late fall, I should say, early winter snow game in Iowa.
Yeah.
As you can see,
how about
there on
these
the video.
guys, man, with freaking Nacho Libre in attendance?
Yeah, I mean that's proper preparation because it was cold, it was snowy.
Yeah, he needed it for sure.
Yeah.
Shout out Sports Guy Iowa for the video here off of X, but that was too great to pass up, dude.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's just wild because the snow did affect Grandview. Like we haven't seen it affect them before. Jackson Waring did not look comfortable in that weather.
Especially
and now,
throwing the ball, right? And we'll talk about the 2-minute
Mm-hmm.
drill. That was kind of the exception, right? Like he orchestrated that 2-minute drill we'll talk about in a little bit here. And that was where obviously he was challenged there, but he stepped up to the plate big time. That whole offense did, if we're being honest. And Grandview, couple turnovers early, definitely felt like they were the better team in this one, but unable to punch it in on some of those key drives. We'll take a look at the 4th down stop from Argo that sealed the deal here for this Grandview defense, Matt. And this was obviously the play of the day. You talk about a low-scoring affair here. Benedictine, one last look in the 4th quarter, throw it across the middle, diving play across the end zone. If we're being honest, there's a lot of red jerseys right there. That one had no chance, but nonetheless, great defensive performance and a defensive kind of final stand for this Vikings team.
For sure, and it's a testament to how efficient their defense has been all season. They were able to bend a little bit and not really break, especially on that last drive. You see it right there. Like they were fully prepared for that. And Jackson Dooley, well, he had a half decent day through the air, certainly jumped more off the stat sheet than Waring did with his performance. Still wasn't quite enough for them. The Benedictine offense wasn't able, like I said, to take advantage when they needed to. And I think it's really interesting, especially with these Iowa guys. They always talk about the linemen, especially loving to play in the snow. I have a feeling after this, we're going to be a bit thankful. It's supposed to be about 65 degrees in Texas this coming weekend.
Yeah.
So
hell yeah, that's a much needed switch up, and whether or not they'll admit it, they are pumped about this, right? You don't want to be the one to say, oh, I'm sick of playing in the cold. No one's going to come out in the media and say that this week, but damn well they're thinking it because going down to Texas is certainly a different ordeal. That Vikings drive, we talk about that 2-minute drill, 15-yard, I think it was an unsportsmanlike type penalty that helped them along in that drive, ends in a field goal. Felt like a really good momentum. I don't want to say this crazy inflection point in the game, but just to prove for Waring in this offense that, hey, we still got a little bit of our stuff. We still got our fastball when it comes to this 2-minute drill. We got guys executing, playing very sound fundamental football when it came to time management, and Waring looked at his best, certainly throwing the ball. Only 2 losses for Benedictine on the year, man, decided by a combined 10 points to the same team. That is a tough pill to swallow.
It is tough, but I will say, the silver lining, not that there are many when you are this close to the championship, but Coach Osborne being named the AFCA NAIA National Coach of the Year is a big deal for this team. Benedictine, their 2 losses coming to what is the best team in the country is certainly not a bad thing in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, it's definitely well earned for that Benedictine squad. But I think for Grandview too, you have to feel pretty good coming out of this one. The fact that Jackson Waring didn't have to have a world-beating performance for you to pull it out against one of the best teams in the country certainly bodes well because you're going to need those guys playing their very best this coming weekend.
Yeah, and the conditions, not really the best to showcase 2 of the best in all of NAIA football at the quarterback position between Waring and Dooley. 138 combined passing yards. I believe Waring only had 36 of those, so that number in itself is actually a little bit inherently inflated, but Grandview extending their winning streak to 27 games. This is a Grandview team that has done it in a variety of fashions too, right? They haven't been 20-point blowouts throughout the course of the regular season. We go back to, you remember where they're down by multiple scores, going into half, and their offense just kind of sputtering, blanking on the opponent here during the regular season. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really crazy to see this team with how dominant they were last year, that they've had to gut out a few more of these games, and they're still able to do it.
And we're still in the championship.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a bit uneasy as a fan watching that. And as a coach, you love to win every game by 70 points, obviously. But these gutsy games, especially in this one in the snow where it's 27 combined points between both teams, you have to be able to dig down deep and get it done. And that's exactly what the Vikings did.
Yeah, they've done it a lot of different ways. They were down 17-7 at half to Peru State in what ended up being a 34-20 game. They outscore them 27-3 in the second half, but that was a little bit of a scare. A week later, you're on the road at Mid-America Nazarene. You win by 4 over that talented squad, and so they have had to gut it out and earn it every stretch of the way, and that makes the 27-game winning streak all the more impressive. But I'm with you that the defense steps up. Waring is not Superman for once, and you still pull out a quality win, and he obviously still is such a key part of this offense in every way, but he doesn't have to be a world beater, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It bodes well, but I think we're going to see a much more productive Grandview team in the Texas weather this weekend, especially just with the other team that they're going to have to face and how they look right now.
Hell yeah, I like that little nice little segue, nice little lead in right
like
there. Let's talk about that team. Keiser absolutely rolling here. They pick up a massive win, maybe not so a decisive win over College of Idaho. Fourth quarter, though, that was all Seahawks, Matt, and that's certainly the story of this one. When you look at the box score and the numbers are like so even, this game was up and down, and for the Seahawks in the first half, it was mostly down.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, it's really hard to not win when your quarterback rushes for 3 touchdowns and throws for 2 of them for like 400, almost 500 combined yards. So, yeah, I certainly think they ended up okay on that side of things. But yeah, Keiser pulling it out against College of Idaho. I think the big difference in this one, while Riley Byington for College of Idaho still had 5 yards a carry, they limited him to just 75 yards of rushing and no touchdowns. Granted, on the other side of things, College of Idaho, Caden Young played absolutely out of his mind and was the reason why College of Idaho was in this late, was able to take even an early lead in this one, which they did have. But man, when Shea Spencer is playing like he played in this game, Keiser's very, very hard to beat. And you're not going to find many teams in the NAIA to beat a team that looks like this in this form. And they are playing emotional football, but it's still controlled. And I think that's going to be the key for them heading into the national championship, especially with Coach Russ being back on the sideline.
I was going to say,
with
that's
the chip on your shoulder from last year. Yeah, I mean, they have everything to play for. They feel like they have something to prove. And I think this game was proof of that, just with how the offense was surging super late in this one. And, you know, Jaden Miller obviously being a major contributor there too on the ground for them. But Keiser, they certainly look up to form. I think also there was a little bit of rust there, especially with having a forced bye week. Yeah, beforehand. But now you come out of this game on the other side, that's to your advantage because the rust is off and you also have one less game of wear and tear on all your guys heading into the national championship, which is certainly something
very true. And the emotionally charged Seahawks, you know, you talk about that. That's a big deal. And Shea had talked about the presence that Coach Russ brings to this locker room. And, you know, he was the first to say he's not, you know, someone who is you're going to see him yelling and screaming and is that kind of guy. He just talks about his presence. And that's the kind of the phrasing he had mentioned multiple times. Here's a look at Coach Russ from Saturday.
Tonight, but then we're going to lock back in, and we know what we're going to do. We're going back to Texas.
Now, the words, not as important. The cheers, much more important. Those guys certainly excited and happy to have the head of their program back running the show for this Keiser team heading back to the national championship. So, again, the cool, calm, and collected presence that is Coach Russ being back on the sidelines of this team is very big, and that's something that Shea had talked about. He also said, Matt, too, he's like, it's funny how all of a sudden you run for 3 touchdowns and everyone wants to start throwing out the dual threat, right? Dual threat. I said maybe we start, you know, sneaky athletic. Let's start that agenda as well for this guy. He's freaking dynamic, man. But 21-9 at the half. Yotes are up. College of Idaho, they have that long snap that goes way out the back of the end zone. That was like head scratcher type miscue at this point in the season, but that gives the Seahawks their 2 points to get an unconventional 9. Keiser, though, this was the thing. When you watch their offense go in the first half, and I saw their first 2 drives, their first drive, they go 76 yards, they score, and you're like, here we go. Yep. This is it. It's exactly what I freaking signed up for. Obviously, this defense from the Yotes is going to rebound and figure some things out. The next 3 drives for Keiser, all with no points, 62, 34, 33 yards. They're moving the ball at varying levels of success, granted. granted.
Yeah.
But they're moving the ball, finding some success in different parts of the game, just unable to put up any points really in that first half outside of the opening score. So it felt to me more of a not a matter of if but when. And when we saw it just took a little bit for that offense to get back humming.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like we had mentioned before, there's a little bit of rust there. And, red zone play calling in the playoffs is always difficult when you're marching down the field and these defenses are tightening up, especially a defense like College of Idaho, who's been top 3, top 4 all season pretty much on that side of the ball.
Yep.
But yeah, Shea Spencer, certainly, I would give him the dual threat title after a performance like that. And it definitely could be playing a factor into the national championship game and what Grandview's going to have to worry about as they match up again against this Keiser team. And not to mention, this is Keiser's 4th straight year of the dance. So they are certainly ready to go in that regard. So yeah, it's gonna be cinema, as the kids say.
There's one of the rushing touchdowns, one of 3 for Shea on the day. The other 2, 31 and 41 yards, tie with the big sack in the 4th quarter here. That was kind of a nail in the coffin type of deal. You see those boys rally around him. He did it through the air as well. Big time completions down the sideline. Little yak action, yards after the catch, break a tackle or 2 for the Seahawks team. No snow on this field down in Florida. Matt Keiser goes on to roll, and like you said, 4th straight appearance in the dance, or in the national championship even, is ridiculously impressive.
Yeah, it's immensely impressive. And I think they are, like I mentioned, they're ready to go, man. They look the part as a team that's ready to go for this game.
Yeah, this feels like a collision course that was eventually going to happen, and now we had a couple scares along the way. Train almost got derailed. We have arrived at the final destination. What do people need to know and expect, and how excited are you to be boots on the ground for this freaking thing?
Yeah, so I'm first of all super hyped to be going to Dallas-Fort Worth this weekend, head down to Crowley and catch that game live. I'll be on some pregame action there and for Midwest Sportsnet, and also doing some stuff for NAIF ball and providing what I can for Division I rejects. So it'll be a very fun time with a lot of cool people that do NAIA media down there. But heading into this contest, I think the big thing that you're going to want to watch is, how can Grandview's defense limit what Keiser's offense is able to do and limit either the ground attack or the pass attack? It can really be either, but forcing Keiser into a one-dimensional offensive attack. And on the flip side of that, can Keiser's defense consistently get pressure on Jackson Waring with 4 and 5 guys? I think is going to be the tell-all in this one, because I feel like you put Keiser in situations where not every matchup on the side of the field, for the receivers is one-on-one. You add some extra help back there, and it's going to force Waring, to have to move around and make plays a lot more than he would probably expect to. Now, granted, if there is somebody who's going to be able to make those plays, it's going to be Jackson Waring. So that is also something to keep in mind in all of this. He might not have looked superhuman this past weekend, like we've seen him in the past, but certainly with the warmer weather and playing in the national championship game as a guy who rises to the occasion, he's certainly going to be a factor in this game one way or another. Obviously, Isaiah Toki at receiver last year for Grandview in this game was a humongous X factor. And is that going to be the guy who's shown up for you again as someone who's comfortable in this situation, or Keiser's DB is going to be able to lock him down this time around? I think something that's also interesting to note, Keiser in their 4 championship appearances, they also faced Northwestern 2 years in a row to start this run, where they lost the first one and got the lick back the next year. So I don't know if that trend holds, then we're crowning the Seahawks. But I'll tell you what, this Keiser team, like I had mentioned before, is going to be fired up, ready to go and emotional. Can they control that and hone that emotion into, calculated aggression? Or is it going to be something to where they let that roll a bit out of control and Grandview is able to take the pace of the game for their own accord? It's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, it's a powerful thing, and this Keiser defense has to step up. The offense is going to show up, and whether it takes them to the 4th quarter or not, hopefully is not the case for Coach Russ and company over there. But for Eli Bertrand and this defense, the linebacker that was the first-team All-Sun Conference, the linebacker of the year, and a big-time performance all the way throughout. He had a record-setting 17 tackles to start this thing off at Indiana Wesleyan. You go back to those games now, we knew exactly what we were getting from these teams. You win over Benedictine, you win over Indiana Wesleyan, two teams that were going to be a part of the playoff conversation down the road. And that set the tone for this season. This defense for Keiser has stepped up when they've needed to, maybe looked not invincible a week ago, but you knew that that was going to be the case. This offense is going to be there. How does he, Bertrand, meaning lead this defense and other those talented guys up front to really disrupt and keep Grandview off schedule? Because you're not going to be able to rely on the conditions keeping them back from all their different weapons and getting to the different sets and play calls that they maybe had to avoid a week ago. So all bets are off. We're going to see both of them at their best, not inhibited in any way, shape, or form. Don't believe there's a myriad of crazy injuries or anything of the sort that I'm aware of. But that to me is the most exciting thing. We get 1 on 2, best on best, without any bars or crazy, inhibiting of play, I guess. There's not really a great way to say that.
100%. And I think, too, what's interesting is heading into this one, Shea Spencer was a question mark heading into this game last year.
Yes.
That is not the case this year. You know, he's playing his best football right now, too, not to mention. If I'm Grandview's defense, I am certainly preparing more intensely than I did last season for this guy. I can guarantee that. So
I like it. Dude. Gonna be a fun trip for you. That's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be a fun trip. Barbecue's gonna be delicious. I'm excited to be boots on the ground there and having a good time, schmoozing with all the NAIA office folk and just being down there and covering some football. It's going to be a really good game, especially just with how Keiser is surging right now. And Grandview's always up to the challenge, whether they are, from the previous week looking like they are their best or not. They're going to be ready to go. So this should be a good one. This rematch is going to be really fun.